haven't been yet. I haven't been sued yet, so it's good. I'm doing good in my.
It's good not to be sued. I feel. So we're on.
We're on.
So we're gonna. This segment is after the show. So I have 5 segments I do on the podcast. We do after the show, then History Unraveled. So I'm gonna spend some of the content I'm doing this semester at Morrilton.
Yeah.
I'm teaching a civ class there.
You excited about that?
I am, dude. I'm pumped about it. I'm excited to finally get to do it. I've been thinking about it for a long time. It's one of the main reasons I got my master's degree is to be able to do that. And it's pretty low key in that I only have to do. I'm only doing 1 class this semester. Like I want to do more. I want to do online classes.
Yeah,
because like with this setup, I mean, look how easy it is for me to record.
Yeah, for sure.
But I'm gonna start doing these History Unraveled courses. Like I'm gonna do like a 10 episode spot on 1968 since it's the 50th anniversary over all of these. Like I'm gonna do an episode on the Little Rock Nine. I'm gonna do,
and that's stuff people need to know about.
Exactly. And it's great that it's 50 years.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna kind of like raise awareness. I'm gonna do LBJ. I'm gonna do an episode on the Tet Offensive in Vietnam.
Yeah.
I've got just a little 10 episode list. I'm gonna possibly have some guests. There's actually a professor that I'm looking forward to meeting at Morrilton, and I'm gonna talk to him about seeing if he ever wants to come on. Talk to a couple of the historians from the university here in town, and then also someone I'm gonna hopefully have on is I ran into my philosophy professor who's now retired yesterday, and he would be an awesome guest. He's got a super awesome story, so hopefully we can get him on soon.
A guy I went to high school with, speaking when you were talking about the Little Rock 9 or whatever, his grandpa was actually one of the National Guardsmen that was standing in the front door keeping them from going in the school.
Interesting. I bet he's pictured in that photo.
He is. I remember him bringing the photo of it and showing us his grandpa. His grandpa was only like, he was like a 24-year-old kid at the time or something. Just fresh out of boot camp, and and it was when you're going through something like that, you probably don't realize the historical significance of it.
Exactly.
And so
it's like, and I think that a lot of that has come to light on things from that era, like the Vietnam War, for example.
Yeah.
But there's a documentary on HBO that I'm wanting to check out in depth, that I'm going to check out and talk about before I do that episode on the Little Rock Nine over that incident. It's not really necessarily over that incident. It's over that school 50 years later. And I actually know someone that teaches there that's like an assistant principal. So I may talk to them briefly. Yeah, it really is. It really is. So
it's neat to go down there and just stand. I've been down there a couple times. And,
I've driven around in the neighborhood because Golden Gloves in Arkansas is right there. So yeah. But so History Unraveled, I haven't done my first episode on that, but I'm going to be doing it. It's going to be over the State of the Union. I'm going to talk about LBJ's State of the Union address and kind of roll it out from there. But I'm going to have a couple of guest spots on that. I'm going to do about like I said, at least 10 episodes, and then I'll be moving on to other parts of History Unraveled.
Oh yeah.
I'm doing coming up a couple of music unraveleds. I'm gonna go see this guy named Todd Snyder. He's like a folk storyteller this Friday, so we're gonna review that concert next week. And then I'm having 2 guests on that like all 3 of us together probably went to maybe 75 concerts last year. So we're gonna review all our 2017 concerts.
That'll be interesting.
So, this will be good. So we'll get a Sons of Anarchy review out, and then I'm doing one on Godless, this Netflix original.
Yeah.
With Cora, like we binge watched it when her fight fell through. It's only like 8 episodes, but then there's this other one called Dark that we're going to be reviewing.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of like we reviewed Black Mirror. We did a Game of Thrones season 8 theories episode. So we're anything that's kind of like entertainment related, mostly streaming television.
Yeah.
But so like Sons of Anarchy, like and it's funny how like you get like that one guy in the gym and you're like, bro, you watch Sons of Anarchy or you watch blah 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 or you're into Westworld or whatever. So like that's another, we're gonna do a Westworld season 2 theories soon. But so we got the music unraveled aspect. Then this life unraveled, just like general topics about this, that, and the other. Like Jesse Weiss came on and talked about Star Wars. We talked about other things. But he's going to come back. Like we were going to talk about national parks and the Buffalo River, and we'll probably end up doing an individual episode on each of those. He's a sociology professor at University of the Ozarks.
Oh, okay.
So really cool dude, too. I train his kids in Jiu-Jitsu. So.
Yeah.
But... So, music unraveled, history unraveled after the show. Life unraveled's just my like weekly guest spot that I'm doing, and those are all in like playlist on YouTube. So this will be in the after the show playlist, but I'll share it on the Facebook. We got social media set up now. So one thing that's kind of challenging is I've been building a site on Squarespace for the podcast. So. But one thing that you have to do for the podcast is get this thing called an RSS feed. Mm-hmm. So I'm going through getting that set up, and like everywhere I've checked so far, it's like a pain to get it set up, and they provide you with one, but they don't let you upload. I've already done in those 7 episodes like over 12 hours of content. We'll do this. Who knows how long it'll end up being? Yeah. So it's like SoundCloud. I hit my limit not by the second
pretty
podcast I uploaded. So I think that in like 3 months, all the episodes will come on. But like I'm going to do a minimum of 1 podcast a week, the Life Unraveled podcast. And then like, man, when just people want to come over or have like a topic or something in mind, we're going to do that too.
Jump in here and do it.
Exactly. That's like I'm having Robert on here in a few days, and a guy named Josh Wilson that they're going to be going into some cool topics that we've previously discussed. So lots of and then Flavio, Jack.
Dude, I'm so looking forward to training with Flavio.
So me too, man. Me too. It's been a long time. So I'm especially looking.
Was it 5 years?
5 or 6 years
when he was here?
Yeah.
I just remember his details.
Oh yeah.
Like he was really and how patient he was with everybody. He wasn't afraid to go up to people and just be like, "Hey man, you try doing it this way,
Exactly.
And there's some Brazilians that we've trained with that honestly didn't really care much for just because of their attitude.
Yeah.
And how they approach people. But Flavio was one of those guys that always just stuck out in my mind, and how he trained with everybody and how he represented himself.
And I've thought about that before, and I think like more than anything, I mean, everybody has like different instructor qualities, but like it's like jiu-jitsu instructors in general, really, because like like I've done a lot of seminars, a lot of different people. Like when we go to Vegas, I've done a lot of seminars up there, and like just all the seminars that we've gone to. You were at the Miguel Torres seminar. We've been talking about that on the podcast.
Yeah.
We watched Miguel versus Demetrius Johnson. So like the 5th spot on the podcast is Sports Unraveled.
Yeah.
So I will be doing like we did a talk where we just talked about UFC 219. We've been talking about the fights coming up. With Choi versus Jeremy Stevens.
Oh,
so it's going to be exciting.
That's going to be great. I'm looking forward to the Stipe versus Francis and Ngannou.
We talked about that at the end. It's going to be crazy.
Like both those guys. Just could you imagine getting hit by either one of those guys? Like it just I don't even want to imagine what it would do to me.
No. You know what? You know what's fascinating to me is how small of a heavyweight Mike Tyson was.
Oh yeah.
Like that's
he really, in all reality, he wasn't a heavyweight.
Yeah, exactly.
Because they didn't, and I tell people this all the time. It's funny. I use the Rocky movie as an example because people look at Rocky, and I was like, Rocky really wasn't a heavyweight. He weighed 190 pounds, but back then they didn't have the cruiserweight division, which is what they have now. The cruiserweight is right before you jump up into heavyweight. They didn't have that back then. So a lot of those guys in like that 185, 195 pound range fought in heavyweight because they didn't really have a weight class for them. Heavyweight was in that range, and Tyson, I think he was in that. I want to say he was in that range. He was only 202 or 204 something like that.
Like low twos,
Yeah.
like maybe 210 at the absolute most, but like I think it was like low twos. But I would have to look it up.
But just his power that he had.
Well, there's a podcast I've been watching. This guy does all sorts of stuff. Does some stuff like just like related to. I was hoping that when I had Josh when he did the Sports Unraveled episode, that we could actually rewatch the entire 219 card, but it wasn't on Fight Pass yet, even 7 days later. So I've had pay-per-views go on Fight Pass like right after them, and then I've had it take up to I guess like 30 days. I don't know. Yeah. So, but there's some fun stuff coming up in MMA. But when I have, it's like I want to do several with Dring, and get him on the podcast and do Sports Unraveled episodes and do like one from like you know, what is it called? It's called Full Contact, which was like sort of a mid-transition kickboxing style, which is about all that there was outside of like your taekwondo and karate style point sparring.
Yeah.
It like gymnasium type tournaments, like even what you see Joe Rogan doing, like
all that old school stuff they used to do back in the day.
Exactly. Isn't it crazy? People would just like get knocked out and then fall and hit a gym floor.
Yeah,
that is insane to me.
Yeah.
So,
and my cousin in Arizona, he did kung fu for like years as a kid growing up.
Yeah,
was I can't remember what ranking he got in kung fu, but he would send me videos of doing tournaments on like hardwood floors and stuff.
Yeah.
And just guys getting knocked down and everything, and it was just crazy stuff from like the early '90s, mid '90s.
Yeah. Oh yeah. See, Dring is can bring such contact. So I want to do like 10 episodes with him and just do like a boxing American style kickboxing Superfoot, Joe Louis,
and he's got
BJJ,
some stories too, man.
Weeping Style, and like get on and do basically a martial arts unraveled. Just kind of throw it in that Sports Unraveled section as a series. So the History Unraveled will be kind of like that. I'm gonna do like this thing I'm doing is like I'm calling it 1968 Unraveled, and the episodes are gonna be I'm going to throw them in an individual playlist, but they're going to be the History Unraveled too. So like as it builds, it'll give me different ways to kind of put that content out, and it's organized. Like I really like going to a YouTube page that has like a clean playlist section. It's easy to access their content. Like I wish like Kurt Osiander would do that. At least the last time I looked, he hadn't organized this stuff. But Joe Rogan does that. I wish Joe Rogan would do like a best of Joey, or like, he does do some best of, but to like put all the Joey Diaz episodes or all the Eddie Bravo episodes.
Yeah.
And he's kind of starting to do that.
Yeah.
So, because he has this MMA show now. So those are all in their own playlist. But he has his archives from just JRE. It's over 1,000 episodes. Yeah. They're divided in like 250.
Well, I know he takes like certain clips and stuff and puts them out. Too. A lot of his sections that get really big hits.
I know. I would like to do that too, but like we were talking about a second ago, and I think it was before we started recording, is I need a like basically a producer in here doing that. So as time goes on, or I'm not going to be able to spend the time with the editing right now above and beyond. Like I said, this will probably be the last audio only we do, but I'm trying to get my audio upload settled, because there's just not really like an audio version of YouTube that I've found that is just like free hosting basically for you to. But I mean, YouTube's fine. Like I really like it, but like I watch a lot and listen to a lot of podcasts, particularly on YouTube. But it's a lot of people listen to audio only outside of YouTube, like on their phones, on the podcast app or Stitcher. So I'm trying to get on the podcast app and Stitcher, but I need this like middle go between until I get my website up, or until I find a third party service that'll give me this RSS feed. But cool stuff.
You gotta start somewhere, man.
It is, and like we're getting social media settled in and getting the content out. So it's like I've said almost every time I've done one, it's just cool. Like I keep figuring new things out, and the audio has gotten better since like the first one we did, and like there was a mid cut pushed on. There's a button that cuts out the mids on the mixer on my mic on the first podcast I did, so it kind of pulls in and out. It's kind of annoying. But you're going to notice, like, by episode 25 or 100 episodes, so that the quality is going to go through the roof. And, like, I'm getting all my animations and audio lead-ins done, and they're going to be awesome. Dylan, the guy who was on the second episode, you met Dylan, I think. He's doing jiu-jitsu, and his kids train at the gym. He's just private lessons. He's super into it. We've known each other for like 22 years and played music together and play music together here across the hall. So, but so this is going to be after the show, Sons of Anarchy review. So I was joking a second ago, like, did you get into Sons of Anarchy like when the first?
No, my brother started watching it. He was more into it than I was before. I didn't start getting into it until second season, and then he had actually bought the first season when it came out on DVD, and so I watched it and then started watching it from season 2 on. After that, I didn't watch it from the very beginning, like some of the hardcore SOA fans.
I didn't either. I didn't get into this was like this. I didn't get into Game of Thrones until after the third season was over. I started during the first. I watched the first episode of the fourth season, and then I had to wait. So anytime I meet somebody that like didn't have to go through that, I'm like my buddy Colby. He did a episode after the show with me, and he didn't start till season 7.
Wow.
So like what he feels right now waiting for season 8, I felt like 4 times. Same, but like Breaking Bad, same thing. I didn't start watching it until the last season.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and then I'm like, man, I wish I kind of wish I would have watched it sooner, but it's nice not having to wait between seasons. But I had to wait for the last season of Sons of Anarchy. That's when I got into it. But I knew about it like back when it was on, and I get 08 when it came out. I was 08 through 2014.
Yep. 08, 14. Yep.
Yeah, and an excellent show. As soon as I watched it, I wanted to form my own MC. Right? It
does. It makes you want to buy a Harley and get a cut and just become an outlaw.
Yeah, I know, right? Maybe we can be like a biker against child abuse type guy.
Trust me, it's not a glamorous lifestyle.
Yeah, so do you guys in your department, have you had to deal on the law enforcement side with any motorcycle gang? Because I know we've had some people come through town a few times that have kind of caused issues here or there, and I don't know what the stories are.
Well, the Mongols and the Banditos are the ones that are in this area. The Mongols are based out of Dardanelle.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I had no idea.
Yeah, they were here in Russellville for, I don't know, a couple of years, but they moved their clubhouse out of town. They didn't really, as far as I know, they didn't really give a whole lot of problems to the area. They actually did a few fundraisers around town during Christmas time and stuff like that.
Just like Gemma.
Yeah.
That's in season 1. They have that fundraiser. And then, later on, and Bobby's always singing.
Mm-hmm, Bobby Ellis.
Yeah. Funny.
And then the Banditos, they come through Pottsville a lot. They take that back Highway 247, and we see them coming through a lot. I've pulled a couple of them over in the past. They don't ever give me any problems. I think a lot of them are trying to get away from that outlaw image. They want to just be really known as a club.
Yeah, that's one of the cooler parts about the show is how you see that, you at least do see that kind of brotherhood side of it. It's the same thing that I feel like doing jiu-jitsu, martial arts, whatever you're doing, it's like it's that tribal. You're a part of the tribe.
It's just like in police work too, man. I can go anywhere and I can meet a cop, and it's just it's immediately, it's that same brotherhood. You would have that guy's back just as much as like I would have your back. And
so who is this Mike the Cop guy?
Oh, Mike the Cop. He's I've been following him for years.
I've heard about him before.
Yeah, he started out on Vine back in the day. He would do Vine videos.
Did they
and
close
stuff.
that down?
They did.
Yeah. I had a Vine at one point for the gym.
Yeah. But they're coming out with he told me they're coming out with a Vine 2 is why they shut it down. Yeah. But I started following him. I saw his video. Somebody used a segment of one of his videos on a funny YouTube video or something, and I started following them. He's a cop from Michigan, and he just makes funny videos on YouTube, and he's got his own.
Had him on the podcast.
He was only here for like 2 days. He
would have been cool.
He did the lead event the other night, the Law Enforcement Appreciation Day event. He was the main speaker down there.
So he used to be a cop, but he's not
still
anymore.
Well, no, he's still a part-time cop. He doesn't do it full-time because he travels around and does.
So he's like the Master Ken of law enforcement.
Exactly.
Nice.
Pretty much.
And does he do jiu-jitsu?
He does.
Oh, nice.
Well, I took him down to the gym the other night.
Yeah.
That's why I texted you when I asked you if you were awake.
I didn't see into so like I woke up like I frequently like watching Sons of Anarchy or something. Yeah. Right now it's been Peaky Blinders, and that'll be the third review that Cora and I do after Godless and Dark. But we just finished the first season. Yeah. I don't know if you've seen that.
I haven't seen. I've seen it on. It's actually on my feed on Netflix.
So.
Peaky Blinders is?
The Peaky Blinders.
I may have to check that
bro,
out.
it is so good. Like I tried to watch it a few years ago, and it's nice, but it sucks is because now I am in a show hole because it's so good, and it's 6 episodes a season, but it's 4 seasons, and I'm like, dude, I'm trying to get these half guard and side control side mount escape videos filmed, and Cora and I are working on filming the next 2 sections of kickboxing and getting those uploaded on a member site. Yeah. And getting the next big batch of like skimming out of those and doing additional ones for the gym YouTube. Yeah. So, but the podcast launch too it's not taking a ton of time because, like I said, I got the upload down to process. Okay, we're back on.
Back on.
Yeah, sorry about that.
No, that's good. But anyway, he was down here. He was the lead, or he was the main speaker or whatever. And he just he's a nice guy, and he's real big on. He's got his own Facebook page and YouTube page, and he does a podcast too on cool. police stuff.
I'll have to check it out.
And he, but we were I had to work the night that he was doing the event, so I didn't get to go to it. But he was staying in Russellville for the night, and then he was leaving the next day.
Has he ever been here before?
No, he's never even been down here.
Okay.
So he's from Michigan. So anyway, they had him. They were having a little get together at the Old Bank Grill after the event that night, and so I went home after I got off and went over there. And I was going to hang out with him
and challenged him
because he came down to the station and visited me, and we did a little Snapchat video for his Snapchat. And so he's making fun of me because I had grown a mustache. I had my cop stash going on. Yeah. And anyway, so we just got to talking, and I knew that he had kind of started training jiu-jitsu a little bit, but he was like, yeah, I'm a blue belt in jiu-jitsu, 4-stripe blue belt, and he's with the Marcelo affiliate up there in Detroit. And I said, well, I'm a brown belt, right? And he's like, no. And he's like, man, I wish I would have brought my stuff, and we could have trained. And I was like, dude, my gym is like literally 3 blocks away. I was like, if you want, I'll run home because he's not much bigger than me. I mean, he's a little bit same size, or same height, but a little bit thicker. I said, dude, I'll run home and get my gi. I got a gi you can wear, and we'll go train. We'll do some midnight rolling. I don't care. And he's like, let's do it.
Dude, some of the funnest rolls I ever had were after dark.
Oh yeah,
like outside of class. I mean, just. There's been so many times like super late at night where like I just am super on an inspired kick of some sort and want to be training,
or it's just something comes to mind and you're like, I got to try that. But
exactly,
no, he was super cool, man. We went down there for about an hour and a half and just and he's pretty good too. I was surprised.
Right on.
He takes it serious. He's in the same mentality I am, in that we feel that a lot of law enforcement or anybody that's in law enforcement needs to be training in, whether it be jiu-jitsu, kickboxing, judo, wrestling, whatever. We feel it's very beneficial.
I mean, it's very necessary, and it's there's a lot of answers. I would like to do a like when McMillan comes on, we're going to get into that, and that's going to be a theme that I definitely delve into, and that is the reason why I'm just like, okay, because sadly, here's the deal, like, so we offer this free classes for law enforcement, and they rarely take us up on it, and we do that because they have irregular schedules, but it's like we have classes like every day, 3 times a day, essentially, and so and they still don't come. They didn't come before. They don't come now. And I don't really have an answer for it other than if, like, I mean, there's potential answer. Like I said, it's a big topic, but just like there's got to be some more of a level of networking that goes on with like what Mr. Dring's doing with the state on, you know, he has like essentially a contract where he's a trainer of trainers that do defensive tactics. And it's, you know, it's a struggle to have all the answers for it, and I feel like that awareness is being raised, and that's why I want to be talking about it, and when I want to talk about it when Drain comes on. Yeah. So,
man, a lot of it is just, and you know, it's just like anybody that goes to work. You know, when you're off, you know, a lot of times there's a lot of things you don't want to do when you're off, or you know, after you get off work, you're tired and stuff like that. And a lot of it has to do with the guys just don't want to come put in the work. I mean, I hate to say that, but they just don't want to do it for some reason. They feel
Have
like...
you told them they can do donuts and the training, and
you just eat a donut before you come in to train, and give you a little bit of energy, and then you just work it off
after, and you can use training as an excuse, I guess. I mean, I'm not asking them to stop eating donuts. I hope they know that.
Hey, not all cops like donuts. Most of us like biscuits and gravy.
I mean, I'm a fan of both.
Yeah,
but not at the same time.
Not at the same time.
Well, so season 1, you get introduced to all your characters. You got Jax, Clay, Gemma. Gemma's Jax's mom. Clay is Jax's stepdad. You get introduced to Jax's junkie ex-wife who just OD'd and had the baby, and the baby was born like prematurely crack addicted. I don't know. So you got some drama there. You got this Dr. Tara, who's like his ex-girlfriend from high school. Yeah. You got Chibs from Braveheart.
I love Chibs, man.
Yeah, dude. I was just watching. He was on Peaky Blinders.
Is it really?
Yeah, season 2.
Well, I'll have to check it out.
The dad, man.
Chibs is one of my favorite characters in that whole show.
Yeah, man. I know, right? And he's like one of the only ones that makes it.
I know.
Anyway.
Spoiler alert.
Bobby Elvis, Piney, Opie, who are father and son, Opie's son, Happy. And then too,
Happy didn't really come on until...
Was he not in the first episode?
I think he made like one appearance.
Season? Yeah,
he really don't come on until like the end of season 2.
Yeah, he's in. I believe that he's in a couple episodes. But you got Half Sack, the prospect.
The prospect.
You got
Half Sack.
Juicy Boy, Juice, and Unser, who's like the retiring cancer police chief in the area.
And then you got Hale. You also got Chief Deputy Hale.
And so the girl who's the ATF agent, Stahl. Right?
Evil.
Yeah,
evil
you
Stahl.
just like hate her immediately. So episode 1, there's this crazy warehouse explosion. So they bring in all this like rival gang.
You got the Mayans.
The Mayans.
Their rival gang who they're kind of at war with right now. Well, I wouldn't say it's war.
Well, they bring in by the end of the first season, they bring in. Well, so that's just kind of like the intro of the whole gun trade, because it's ammo that blows up in the warehouse, and then there's like some dead bodies that Tig. Oh yeah, I forgot. To say
we got about Tig. Oh, how did you forget about Tig?
Tig Traeger. that's an interesting character right there. Yeah. Man, my dog wants to be on the podcast, but we're not going to let him. No. He just can't handle himself around the headphones.
Wait to get the real Hickson on the podcast.
Dude, having Jack on is going to be so sick. Jack Toffer. So warehouse explosion, you get an intro to like all the rival MC element that they're going to go into. And so this is based in the city of Charming, which is this fictional Northern California, NorCal.
It's right above Oakland.
Yeah.
According to the...
Yes, because they play into that a lot. Yeah. They also like weave in like Oregon and Nevada into several episodes.
Yeah, they have several clubs in surrounding areas. You got Tacoma, Arizona, and then they eventually turn I think in season 1, don't they turn that brother club?
Yes, they do a patch over.
They do a patch over.
Which is a thing. I like how like you see a lot of the elements. I love the table. The table is so awesome.
That table
and then
is
the
sweet.
Gavel, like every time we have a nonprofit meeting, I'm like, damn it, I want a gavel. just want to hit the gavel at the end or the beginning. I don't know the etiquette, but I want to gavel.
You do it to open the meeting, and then you do it to
We
close
should do
the
one
meeting.
before each podcast. That'll be like our action spot. Like I've got the audio matched on the camera, so I don't have to match. Like I was trying to match audio and the video, and I just went ahead and uploaded the audio onto YouTube. And like I said, about 10 episodes in, we'll start doing video only, and this may be the last audio only that I do. But anyway, so Charming, Northern California. You know, I read that the pilot episode was actually filmed with this guy named
Scott Glenn.
Scott Glenn.
Scott Glenn was originally supposed to be Clay because I can't remember what Ron Perlman. He was supposed to be filming something else.
Who is Hellboy?
Who's Hellboy? Yeah, and he was working on something else. I can't remember what it was. But then they originally filmed it with Scott Glenn, and they said it just didn't really jive too well. Like that tension between him and Jax just wasn't there that they wanted.
Yeah.
And so, and originally I think I watched an interview with Kurt Sutter, and he was saying that Ron Perlman was actually his number one choice, was who he wanted as Clay. He wrote that role for Clay, or for Ron, the role of Clay for Ron, and but they couldn't get him at the time. But I guess it eventually worked out. They got him.
Yeah, no, and I think that really does well for the show, honestly, because they have a good cast. So Katie Siegel, speaking of Jiu-Jitsu on the podcast, is the fictional wife on Married with Children. Mm-hmm. So, and here's another trivia factoid while we're on trivia factoids about the pilot episode having a different person in it. That Katie Siegel is also in that. Do you remember that Disney movie Smart House when we were like teenagers, or
maybe
about the house that like has like a consciousness? It's like almost like a Black Mirror episode for kids. But Black Mirror is crazy, bro. Cora and I binge that too when like we just watch Netflix like the whole weekend with a 5 filter and 8 Oreos. But anyway,
that's what you do, man.
Yeah,
you do that if a fight falls through or after a fight.
Yeah,
after a fight, man. That was when I always got fat. Was after a fight.
So Charlie Hunman is Jax. Have you seen King Arthur yet?
I have.
Is it good? It's on HBO. I'm about to watch it.
It was okay.
Don't tell me that.
No, I mean I don't know. I watched it. I mean it was. I mean, it may be one of those movies I have to go back and watch again.
Yeah,
there's a lot of times I have to go back and watch stuff just to see if I really like it or not.
I probably should give it another chance, but I had high expectations for that Robin Hood with Russell Crowe, but I just
I liked it. I liked that.
Just didn't get into it.
Yeah, I heard. I had people that told me they didn't, but I liked it.
Yeah, well, like I said, maybe I should give it another chance. But I mean, how could you ever possibly be better than Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves?
Kevin Costner's hard to beat.
Morgan Freeman, Christian Slater. You know. Anyway,
the only person that beat Kevin Costner on anything was Kurt Russell as Wyatt Earp in Tombstone.
Yeah, I like both of them, but I probably like Tombstone better, honestly.
Oh yeah,
yeah. Well, so back on to the Sons of Anarchy. So probably one of my favorite characters, Opie, Gary Bertier. from Remember the Titans.
Left Side.
Yeah, that's such a good movie too. I really enjoy that movie.
Hey, that story would probably integrate really well into that era of your history that you were talking about.
I wonder what year that's set in.
It was set. I want to say it was like 70, 71, something like that.
Yeah,
it was still during that. It was still during that. That era of where they were integrating schools and stuff. So that story would probably fit really good into that era, because that's what that was. That was an integrated school.
Yeah. That era, like my expertise, I guess you could say, in history is post Civil War to now. That's where I've had the vast majority and where my major concentrations were in undergrad and grad school. And that's why I was almost going to teach a U.S. history too, which is that era. Yeah. And I'm still going to get into that heavily, like 2 whole units I'm doing out of I think it was 26 or 32. I can't remember. There's like a difference in like I'm doing 2 classes a week for 16 weeks, but there's like 3 tests. And the first day I won't get a whole lecture in because I'll have to do like little like first class stuff. So handing out the syllabus and going over it and talking about the book and
all that fun stuff.
What the test format's going to be like and everything. So so Jax like finds his dad's diaries and it starts like revealing like that basically Clay might have like
had something to do with his future death, basically.
Yes.
And the memoir or whatever that he's reading, just to kind of give you a rundown of it, it basically tells his vision of the club, why he the direction he wanted it to go, as opposed to the direction that it was going in. His dad he calls his dad a hippie, and he really wanted the club to be more just not outlaw, but
didn't really want to get into like the gun running.
Didn't want to get into the guns. Didn't want to get into.
But Clay did.
And
he was a founding member. So like most of the original members were like Piney, were like Vietnam War vets.
Mm-hmm.
Like I like how they worked that into it.
Yeah.
So
and a lot of there's only 4 founding members alive still at the beginning of season 1.
So is Otto that's in prison, was he a founding member?
No. That they had
other Otto.
There was 2 Ottos. Otto Delaney is one of the members that's in prison for killing somebody.
I really like that character in the plot, honestly. Like he's probably such a tragic character too, bro. How they bring in the prison into basically every season.
Yeah.
Or like versus the season where the 3rd season when they're in Ireland. They really just bring in the brutal side of it throughout the show because, we'll talk about it later. Because it's almost like Game of Thrones. Like your favorite character from the first season gets killed in the next to last episode of the first season.
Oh wow!
And like here we are about to be season 8 in 2019, and everybody's still like, yeah, that's my favorite character. There's a big conspiracy theory that he's still alive.
He's still alive.
Yeah, and it's like, always, no, he got his head cut off, dude. But maybe, who knows? There's been crazier stuff that happened in Game of Thrones.
No, Otto Delaney, he's like the sacrificial lamb through that whole season.
Oh, I know, man.
Like he takes he basically like just does all the dirty work for that club inside the prison, and then he gets punished for it too.
I know, and he's like blind in one eye. But see, like even in the first episode, he's like, "Send my gratitude to Leanne," and then like Bobby starts banging her. Oh my gosh, his wife on the outside because his wife runs their porn business.
Yeah.
So they're like, it's crazy how that, like, I know so many people that got into this show, and like the themes are so like raw.
Yeah,
really, they do a good job.
That's a good way to describe it. It's a really raw show.
Well, it was on FX originally, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. See, I've only ever watched it on Netflix, and I think when the last season was coming out, I was watching it on Hulu or Amazon Prime or something. Like after the episodes came out, I do that. I have to do that for Better Call Saul because I don't have cable or anything. I just stream everything. Yeah. So Opie's just got out of prison. I think is a cool little element that they worked in. Do you remember his name? The guy that was like previously in the club who wanted to see his son's band play, but he was the reason Opie had gone to prison.
Oh man, I can't remember his name off the top of my head.
Excommunicated.
Yeah, but him and Opie had planted a bomb or something on something. They don't really just say what it was.
Yeah.
They just know that Opie got caught planting a bomb on something, and this other guy left Opie there and drove off when they heard the cops coming. And so Opie went to prison for 5 years for arson charges and stuff like that. And then
he
this
has
other
a
guy,
wife and kids at home.
And then this other guy, they excommunicated him and kicked him out. Basically ran him out of town, so he couldn't come back.
No community events. So it starts off like his ex-wife approaches Gemma about him coming to this community event where Bobby's singing his Elvis, and this guy's son is his band's playing. But it turns out he's there to just basically try and like get back in with the club. And Opie's like so super awkward for Opie, and then they end up fighting. But they also see that dude still has his back
ink
piece. So you can't have club tattoos. So like, don't they? So they inked over Clay's way later in the series. We'll get there.
Yeah.
So like season 1, you start to see this division between Jax and Clay, his stepdad. But like, I would say their relationship's really good.
Yeah.
In the first few episodes.
Yeah.
But then you start to see just like the drama unfold like throughout.
Well, it goes back to Jax is starting to read his father's memoirs. And, you know, his father is basically confirming to him through the memoirs what Jax was already feeling in the first place. You know, he was like, you know, this outlaw life is not a good life. It's not a longevity life, you know, and a lot of it, the birth of his son, Abel, also kind of starts changing him too, you know, because he's like, I'm a father now, you know, I can't be going down this road, you know, being an outlaw and spending, you know, half my life in jail and, you know, getting shot at and all this, and it's not a good lifestyle. So,
well, I mean, and I think that all the show really does is highlights like with the prisons and stuff. It does raise awareness and highlights these real things that are going on in society. Like you're talking about a MC in small town Arkansas, whether they're doing things or not, they have that reputation elsewhere.
They're 1% clubs, man. They're consider themselves outlaws.
First original. Yeah. So it's Sons of Anarchy Motorcycle Club.
Redwood Original.
Yeah. Okay, Sam Crow. They call it Sam Crow all throughout.
Yeah.
So they're like, they've got the ATF and the feds on them for this RICO case. They're trying to build with that Agent Stahl. That gets introduced in the first season. Later on, Jax and Clay start to drift apart. Clay gets arrested in the first episode. Let's see, what else?
They start questioning.
Close to the last season, last episode of the first season. Let's see, what? Oh man! So they start feuding with the Mayans, and there's all this kind of that you start to see the racist element because these white nationalists come in. Lone, is it, or this first? It's the Mayans and the Nords first. Right?
Yeah, well, and then there's the Niners are also introduced in the first season too. They're starting to have some trouble with the Niners a little bit on the gun stuff because since their warehouse got blown up, their gun shipments are going to slow down, and Clay's trying to keep everybody happy. You know, he's saying, you know, we'll get back on our feet, but you just got to give us a little bit of time. Well, they're not willing to give him a whole lot of time, and so it's creating a little bit of rift not only with the Mayans, but it's also their people that they sell guns to. It's getting a little hairy, also.
Indeed.
But anyway, I think the whole best part of that first season is just Jax and Opie's relationship. You see how close of friends they are. You know?
Yeah, and did they go to high school together?
Yeah. I mean, they've grown up together.
That's what I was,
both their dads both their dads were the founding members.
Yeah.
You know, you got John Taylor, Jax's dad, was the president, and then Opie's dad, Piney, was the vice president.
Who was sergeant at arms back then?
I don't know.
I guess it was Clay at one point.
Actually, no. I think it was the guy in prison, the older guy, the guy that was a real Hell's Angels.
Yeah. That was cool.
I can't remember. His name is Sonny Barger in real life. He was a Hell's Angel, in real life, but I can't remember his name on the show now. I've had a brain fart.
Did you like how they worked Marilyn Manson into later? We'll go into that, unfortunately. So let's just wrap up that season 1 caps off with Clay killing Donna, Opie's wife. What the crap? So
well, it's actually Tig that kills her.
But Clay orchestrated.
Because it
was Tig.
They arrest Opie, and Stahl frames Opie for basically she makes him look out to be a rat because Opie's in a lot of debt. They're about to lose their house. He's working a crappy job where he's not making a whole lot of money.
So he has to be a criminal.
So he has to go back to the club.
He's trying to get out of the club, right?
No,
he's trying. Isn't he trying to like lower his involvement with like the crime?
Exactly.
Element?
That's what he wants to. He can't walk away from. He's like Jax. He can't walk away from the club because it's been his whole life. That's all he's ever known. But at the same time, he's also in that same boat with Jax. He kind of doesn't want to be the outlaw anymore. He wants to be a family man, and he wants to do right by his family.
Yeah, we saw what that did for him.
Yeah, and so, but anyway, at that same time, the ATF decides to try to set him up to look like a rat so they can get some more dirt on what's going on inside the club. Well, Clay picks up on this and thinks Opie is actually a rat. And so he has Tig try to kill him. So they're having this big party at the end of season. She was
driving Opie's truck.
Yeah, they're having this big party at the end of season 1, and Donna and Opie actually switch vehicles. And so Donna is actually driving Opie's truck. And so Tig thinks that it's Opie actually driving the truck. So he pulls up, caps him through the window, and then realizes, oh crap, I just killed Donna. I just killed Opie's wife. And then, of course,
damn it, Tig.
The last episode is at Donna's funeral, and Jax knows and that's the thing, is Jax knows what just happened. He knows that Clay killed Donna. He knew that he orchestrated it. So of course that last scene in that first season is Jax walking up and setting the rose on Donna's grave while he's looking across at Tig and
cemetery scene is rough. And then Jax and Tara are like back together.
Yeah, like, Jax and Tara kind of rekindle a little bit, but Tara's kind of reserved about getting back with him because she knows the lifestyle.
She don't want to be an old lady.
But she also came back for him too. That's another thing that she don't.
And then there's that guy that she shoots. Yeah. That was crazy, man.
I don't think that happens till season 2, though.
That might be. I think it's season 1. It could be season 2. I watched. I think all season 1. It's 13 episodes a season.
I know.
So that's why I was talking to you. It's like we've already been going 45 minutes because that's like this conversation. It's like it's not hard to stay on topic, but we did that Game of Thrones. We ended up talking about widespread panic, and we started off talking about Bruce Lee and David Carradine and Kung Fu. So it's like that's what it just. But for the most part, when we start talking about entertainment, it kind of tends to stay on those other shows or like those same themes, motorcycle clubs or whatever. But well, they also bring in this element which I've am fascinated by, and this is an element that's also in the Peaky Blinders. The IRA.
The IRA, yeah. True IRA.
Is it true? There's a real IRA, and then there's just...
maybe it's the real IRA.
I think it's the real IRA. But I'm not 100% up on that part of the plot line, but I love that arc of the story, for sure. Okay, so... moving forward, you get to season 2 and the aftermath of Donna getting killed and Tig being the one that did it, and
tensions are high at the beginning of season 2 because Jax, like I said, he knows exactly what's going on. He knows, but he's afraid to tell Opie what happened because
how did Jax find out about Donna? Because Jax finds out at some point.
Well, he knew. I mean, it was like it was never shown. Or anything like that, but he knew that Clay was behind it.
Okay, so does it go into in the first season like Clay's arthritis and that he can't?
Yeah, he's already They immediately show that he's got degenerative arthritis in his hands.
So he can't clutch.
He can't clutch a bike very long, and so that's another plot line that kind of goes with Jax is just kind of buying his time because he knows Clay don't have much time left either.
But still, it's going to be somewhat of a political move. Even at one point in the first season, when Clay gets arrested, Piney's like, "Oh, you're making the decisions now."
Yeah,
because it's like you still have Piney in the picture. You got Tig, who's Sergeant at Arms, super allied with Clay, so he's not going to be with Jax. No. So really, you gotta have. It's almost like a board of directors. Like they vote on everything, all these serious club issues, and there's just a whole table full of people, and this like Survivor people forming alliances. And
exactly.
Stuff. Haven't you applied to Survivor like a few times?
3 times.
Did they ever get any correspondence back?
I got an email after I did that. After we filmed that video. Do you remember when we did that video at the gym when they were filming me? I sent that in, and I got some type of email saying, "We got your video. We're looking at it, and we'll let you know." But that was all. I thought that video was going to be my ticket in, man, because I was like, I can win Survivor. I know I can win Survivor.
What do you win on there? What's
$1 million?
$1 million
in Dr. Evil voice.
Yes. So, I mean, there's no good way to say this. Gemma gets gang raped by the white supremacist in season 2, and it's super disturbing and it's super raw. And that is probably, like I would say, the main theme.
The main theme of season 2 is the guy, Hale's brother, hires this white supremacist group to come in.
That's
and basically
Sloan, League of Aryan White Nationalists or something like that.
And they open a cigar shop in town as like a cover-up. Zobel. Ethan Zobel is the leader. And
what a douche name.
Yeah, I know. Ethan.
I have a cousin, distant related, named Ethan. But Zobel. What are you? It's like a watch company.
Anyway, and their job is to basically run the Suns out of Charming. That's what they're brought in for. And so this war kind of ensues with them. They're trying to get them to get Clay and them out of town. And then there's rift going on between Clay and the club is going through a split. You know, there's a lot of tension going on there with everything going on with Jax and Clay. And there's not really a whole lot with Tara and Jax. I mean, they basically just rekindle their relationship. They're raising Abel. Abel makes it through surgery and starts to recover from being born premature and all that.
And he has this. So Jax's mom has a heart condition.
Mm-hmm.
It shows that, like in the opening credits. And then his son is born with that same heart condition. Is that correct?
No, he was born with a hole in his stomach.
Oh, okay.
From Wendy's drug use.
Crazy.
It was So they had to repair the hole in his stomach, and then basically had to use his intestines to like make a new stomach and stuff like that. It's a condition that premature babies can be born with if they're not.
That is wild to me.
But anyway,
because I'm sure that those babies are born all the time.
Oh yeah.
I don't know if I can't remember if I talked about this on the podcast. I don't think I did, but an issue I've been looking into is I have a few friends that are considering adoption, and I know people that have gone through the process of adoption and ended up spending as much as $10,000 and more. Yeah. So let's say like 10,000 seems to be the low end. So working from that number and the number of kids adopted per day in the United States, we'll just call it a $1 million per day industry.
Yeah.
So
is that not ridiculous though?
It's like federally sanctioned human trafficking in a way. Like, we're going to sell you this kid for $10,000, maybe $20,000.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, there's like I said, it seems to be $10,000 is after you go through the whole process of applying.
That's ridiculous.
Yeah.
In my, and that's just, I mean, you can't put a price on somebody's life, especially a child's. You know, and it's like if you've got a good, strong family to give, you know, and that wants to have. I mean, because we have friends who cannot have children, literally cannot have children, cannot conceive children, but yet they don't have the money to go and adopt a child, which is all they want. And to me, that's wrong. I just don't. I don't agree with the whole system, how they do that. I mean, if you have a good family,
there has to be some level of regulation, but it's like the number. Like, I've told like 2 or 3 people that little stat, you know, because I just looked up a few stats, like number of children adopted per day, and then based off the least the 2 people I've talked to, they're like prepping for a $10,000 investment basically into this human life, and just working from that number and multiplying and dividing, and I'm just like, wow, that's a lot of money per day. Yeah. And then everybody's like, where's that money going?
Yeah, I
don't know. Hopefully to make things better, but and then the thing is like, I've heard that like it's kind of like on foster care, you never know if like the parent is going to like clean their life up and come and get the kid back, and but I guess if you're a foster parent, there's some sort of like government subsidy there for you.
Yeah, there is.
Like a tax credit or something.
Yeah. If you foster so many kids or whatever, you get.
So then you get people becoming like whatever, foster whatever.
Well, there's
have like a ton of kids.
Yeah,
you know.
Well, it's like where our buddy Levi.
Yeah,
where he lived with a family that does that.
And I like what I like about them is they have this huge house, and they like work with friendship a lot, and it's like they almost deal. I think they do deal with like exclusively special needs kids.
They do.
So some very special people.
And it takes a real strong person to be able to do that.
Yeah, I know. His dad's super cool dude.
Oh yeah. But we see Kristen's, my wife's, has a cousin who they adopted 2 twin boys a couple years ago when they were babies. I mean, literally were babies, because they didn't think they could have kids, and then they end up having 2 more kids themselves. So
man. See, I've heard that 4. Too.
Yeah.
Like you adopt a kid, and then you end up having a kid, and it's unexpected and unplanned. And, and then you hear of women having getting pregnant while they're on birth control.
Oh yeah.
And then
That's
like Ross Geller situation. What do you mean 97% of the time or whatever on Friends?
That's literally like a man's worst nightmare. A married man's worst nightmare is wife getting pregnant on birth control.
Yeah, man. What do you mean 97? Anyway, so Gemma gets kidnapped. That starts driving a wedge between Clay and her in season 2. That's the dominant theme.
Yeah, because she kept it secret for like half the season.
Oh, yeah, and then they start taunting her with it.
Yeah.
Because Zobel orchestrated that, right?
Yeah.
So then she ends up leaving Charming, right? To go to her dad's.
Yeah, she leaves and goes visit her dad, who's like 98 years old, who's losing his mind.
Dementia.
Yeah, a little dementia. Thinks his wife is still alive.
Don't they like kill the housemaid or something?
That's not till like season 6 or something like that.
Yeah, okay. I just remember like Tig being with her. No, like they drive her up to Oregon.
It may have been season 2. I can't remember.
Yeah, because they check him into the
nursing home at the end of that.
The living assisted living.
Yeah, they kill that nurse. Or Tig, like,
maybe they don't kill her. Maybe they just like tie her up downstairs or something.
Well, no. Then Tara ends up accidentally killing her. They get in a fight.
Yeah.
And she stabs her. She stabs
Tig
her.
Like hook up with her or something.
Yeah.
Tig is so dirty.
And then they bring in Stephen King to cut her up and flush her down the drain in the basement.
Dude, that is true. I forgot about that. Oh wow. See, so you got that too. It's like a regular Dexter episode over here.
Yeah, cutting up bodies and making them vanish. But now they end up. Gemma finally realizes that the club is about to go. Like, if she doesn't step in and do something, the club's gonna die with this split. Because you've got guys in the club that are behind Jackson. You got guys who are behind Clay. That's basically the 2 guys that they go behind. You got your president and your vice president. Well, Gemma finally, Jax decides he's going to leave. He feels like that's the best.
He's going to go nomad.
He's going to go nomad, which is their independent club. They just ride around and help other clubs out. Like, they're still a part of the club, but they don't have a chapter, basically. They just go around and help other chapters if they need it. And they ride around that area of the country and stuff. And Tara doesn't want him to do that because of how dangerous it is. He doesn't have help whenever he needs it. He'd be doing a lot of riding by himself.
Season 3 that comes in with Gemma's dad, actually.
Maybe it may have been season 3, but anyway, well, Gemma finally sets Clay and Jax down and tells him about being raped by Zobel's men, and that kind of brings Jax and Clay. It puts their beef aside.
Yeah, it
brings them back together
for a second. You think that things are going to be okay, and then you have. So it's season 3 where they're in Belfast.
Yeah,
and this is your favorite.
At the end of season 2, they kill everybody except for Zobel. Zobel gets away, but they end up killing all of Zobel's men, even the Henry Rollins, one of the guys that raped Gemma. They kill him in the bathroom stall at the tattoo parlor. Remember that?
Yeah.
Jax just lights him up, empties a magazine into him while he's taking a dump.
Crazy.
Well, there was also the little backstory on this too is they're working with this Irish guy in season 2, and his son accidentally gets killed by Agent Stahl. Mm-hmm. And they blame it on Gemma. Stahl blames it on Gemma.
Yeah, and that's why she has to go to
That's why she
Oregon.
has to go to Oregon.
Yeah.
And so, his dad ends up kidnapping Abel on the very last episode of season 2 and taking him to Belfast. That's why. And so at the end of season 2, you see him on the dock chasing that guy, and Jax watches his son being carted off to Ireland.
Yeah.
So, and then we jump to season 3, which is my favorite season.
That was a really cool season. I love how they kind of redid the intro music to have
with the Irish. Yeah.
Yeah, it was very, very Leprechaun.
But basically, the start of season 3 comes out, and they're trying to locate Abel. They've hired a bounty hunter to kind of get some information to try to figure out where he's at. And at first, they think he's up in British Columbia, Canada. And so they're talking about going up there to try to find him.
I think that he flew out to there and then from there to Ireland.
Flew to Ireland.
Yeah.
So, and then this is where the character of Jimmy O'Fallon comes in.
Yes.
Jimmy O'Fallon.
Yeah, fascinating character, and also this is where the character, what was his name, Father
Gabriel, Gabriel? I want to say it was Father Gabriel.
I think so. I'm trying to see if I can find that real quick. Anyway, another dude from Braveheart, Amish's dad in Braveheart.
Dad,
so he is he was super close with Jax's dad, and Jax goes over there and he finds out that his dad had this mistress over there who he had also had this
a
daughter with, and there's this Luke and Leia and Empire Strikes Back moment where they almost kiss or do kiss, and then the moms figure out. Yeah.
We'll give you a little background on Jimmy O'Fallon. He's a former member of the IRA, and he's basically enemies with Chibs. He's the one who gave Chibs his scars.
And Chibs' wife and kid are in Ireland, in Belfast.
In Belfast. And Jimmy O has basically taken them and claimed them as his own. And so there's some beef between Chibs and Jimmy O. And Jimmy O basically is trying to frame the Sons on a lot of things and take over the gun running business from the Sons.
Yeah.
And
well, so they go. So Sons of Anarchy has a chapter in
Belfast.
And what's it called?
Sam Bell.
Sam Bell.
Yeah. Sam Bell.
Yeah.
And it's run by Keith McGee, who's one of the original 9.
And it turns out that those
first 9.
that is true. Okay. And it turns out that those his sergeant at arms and him
are actually working with Jimmy O.
Well, and what's crazy too, we didn't mention this. There's a character from the patch over, Jury.
Yep.
He ends up betraying the Sons too.
No, he don't.
Does he not?
Mm-mm.
Do the Sons betray him?
They think that Jax thinks that Jury ratted him out on something when he really didn't. He didn't.
Yeah, and doesn't he kill him for it?
He kills him for it.
Oh man.
And
was Jury a first 9?
No, Jury was the president of the Devil's Tribe, which was a brother club.
Okay, and they patched.
And he was friends with John Taylor. They were war buddies.
That's it. Yeah.
And so
there's a connection there.
Yeah, that's where they get patched over in the first season.
Yeah.
But anyway, going back to season 3, so they find out that Abel's in Belfast. And so they charter a flight to Belfast illegally because they're all felons. They're not allowed to leave the country. And Gemma's still in hiding up in Oregon, I believe, with her father.
Yeah, well, I believe she comes to Ireland at some point, right?
No, I'm getting caught. I'm getting ahead of myself. She actually comes back, and she ends up going to Ireland with them. So she comes back, and they all go to Ireland, and they meet up, and they still don't know that Keith McGee, that the president of Sam Bell, and them are in it with Jimmy O'Fallon. They start to kind of pick up on it as the season goes on, because they try to kill him in the barn scene. You remember the barn scene?
Yeah.
Where they go to pick up that shipment, and they lock him in there and try to kill him.
Yeah,
and then
like
they end up
bomb, right?
they end up escaping, and then they have that really cool scene where Jax is like laying on the ground after they escape, and he sees his dad walk up to him and start talking to him, and it's really Clay, but he's imagining it's his dad.
That is, I forgot.
I always liked that scene.
Super interesting. Yeah. But they are not going to get back together, he and Clay.
No.
It's not happening.
Well, for right now, everything's good.
They are, and they're trying to get Abel back, and they've kind of joined forces. But still,
Mm-hmm.
there's that underlying element because there's all this stuff coming to the surface of Jax's dad.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, and I think deep down he always realized that he always knew that Clay had something to do with his dad's death.
So the priest is super connected with the IRA, the real IRA. Right?
He's basically, the priest is the connection between the IRA and the Sons over in the United States. He's like the middleman. Mm-hmm. So he generates all the what's going on and everything, and he's the one that's keeping basically Jax's son in hiding because he kind of made a promise to John Tiller that he would not let Jax go down the path of being involved in the Sons, and he feels like he failed doing that. So he's hiding Jax's son from him to keep him from coming into that lifestyle too, and it's pissing Jax off.
Yeah, because he's trying to use his father as leverage.
Yeah,
over Jax.
exactly.
Yeah, and pretty much talks Jax into it for a period of time because. The priest placed the kid in an orphanage,
and then they found a family for him that they gave him to, and the family had him. It was a nice young couple.
And Jax decides to let them keep him, but then gets him back because I think Jimmy O kidnaps the kid, and then they trade. The priest sacrifices himself to Jimmy O for Abel,
for Abel.
And Jax gets
him back.
And so that's kind of wrapping up season 3.
Oh no,
right?
No! They come back.
I thought that was the last episode.
No! They come back. Come back, and so now they've finished everything over there, and Clay kills Keith McGee.
Yeah, because
for betraying the club, and they kill the sergeant at arms also for betraying the club. I didn't like that guy. Yeah, he was kind of a douche. He had ugly Elvis sideburns too that didn't really look
not
good.
Bobby Elvis sideburns.
Not Bobby Elvis sideburns. But so they do all that. Jax finds out about his dad's previous life over in Ireland, having a mistress and a sister now, and so they leave and come back, and now it's time to go after Stahl and finish what they started with. From season 1, from Donna being killed, Opie's wife being killed, and everything. So they build up to what, in my opinion, is like one of the greatest season finales that was ever done for a show.
So let's do this. I'm going to take a quick pause.
Okay.
I'm going to get a fresh bottle of water and some other quick items, and we're going to come back and we're going to review that episode and get into prison life.
I need to go see it.
So it's kind of like a commercial, but not really, because the audience didn't have to wait, because I just paused it and restarted it. So we're about to do season 3 finale. Breakdown. So go ahead, man. What season 3 finale? You said it's the best finale you've ever seen.
Oh, it was awesome.
What's your favorite?
After they get back from Ireland, Jax starts making what seems like an under the table deal with Stahl, because they're doing a RICO case on him, on the Sons.
So, and doesn't Gemma at some point, how many episodes are there once they get back from Ireland? At some point, she has like a cardiac arrhythmia, or has to go to hospital.
I want to say it's like 6 or 7 episodes.
Really?
So they're only in Ireland. They're only
I thought
in
it was
Ireland
the whole season for some reason.
The whole first. Well, it's basically like the whole first part of the season.
Yeah.
They're in Ireland, and then the last. I want to say it's like 6 episodes. They're back. Well, anyway, Stahl's trying to frame Gemma for the murder of that guy in season 2.
Mm-hmm.
And so she's making a deal with Stahl. Well, at the same time, Jax is making what appears to be an under-the-table deal with Stahl also. So which in the outlaw motorcycle club world, you don't make deals with cops. That's a no-no. That's you're considered a rat if you do that, and that's automatic.
Father Kellen.
Kellen. I don't know why I thought Gabriel, but Kellen.
Peter Gabriel.
So anyway, he basically is making a deal to where Gemma gets out of jail time, and he hands over himself and the sons for limited jail time without any major charges. And he also hands over Jimmy O'Fallon for the charges that they're trying to get him for too. And so they make the deal, and she said, "Well, and they'd already captured Jimmy O a couple of episodes before this, and they were holding him hostage at Teller Morrow.
So Father Kellen's sister is John Teller's mistress.
Yes.
Okay, that's the connection there.
Yeah, and then she was Keith McGee's basically like live-in wife.
Yeah, his old lady, basically.
Basically his old lady, but they weren't. Yeah, but it wasn't like a Jackson Tara type relationship. It was basically he just took care of her because she didn't really have like, feelings for him like that. So, anyway, back to the ending. So Jax basically signs over saying that there's going to be he's going to give up the club for limited jail time and keep Gemma out of jail also, and then they would give up Jimmy O'Fallon as well because that's who Stahl was after also. Mm-hmm. So Stahl shows up at Teller Morrow and says, "Where's Jimmy O? I want him." And they give up Jimmy O to her, and Clay asks, how'd you know he was here? And the deal was that Stahl wasn't going to say anything that Jax ratted, but she rats him out, saying that, well, your VP is the one that ratted y'all out. And so it looks like Clay and the rest of the club members turn on him, and they all get arrested at the same time, minus Opie, Chibbs, and Kozik and Piney, who were not on scene at the time. We don't know where they're at.
Yeah, which Piney's in super bad health, like the whole series.
Yeah. Well, he's kind of MIA through that whole season. He's only in like
a couple episodes.
He's only in a few episodes. So they all get arrested. They get put in the back of trucks, and they're driving off. Well, Unzer is following. And a little backstory on Unzer. He's the cancer-ridden chief of police of Charming. He's been friends with Clay for years. He's always kind of worked with the Sons a little bit.
Yeah, turned a blind eye.
Not really turned a blind eye, but he did what was best for. He kept the Sons around because he knew the Sons.
He used them as security.
Used them as security, and the Sons kept drugs out of Charming. That's the one thing that the club does not tolerate is drugs. They don't like any type of drug use in their areas that they live in and stuff like that. So. So anyway, Unzer is on his way out as police chief, and so he feels like his last duty is to help the Sons get rid of these corrupt ATF agents and get rid of anything that's been going on. So they set up almost like an ambush for them. Unzer pulls them over and is talking with them and saying that they're about to be ambushed at a road crossing somewhere, and so. Anyway, Stahl sends two of her guys up the road a little ways to look at it. Well, lo and behold, here come Piney and the other boys, Opie and Kozik and Chibbs, and they basically come in and execute Stahl and Jimmy O'Fallon.
Yeah.
To end the feud with Stahl. Chibbs gets his revenge on Jimmy O for almost killing him years ago and taking his wife and child, and then Opie gets revenge on Stahl for plotting the death of his wife and making him look like a rat that got his wife killed and everything. And then Chibbs leaves the mark of the IRA to make it look like the IRA killed Jimmy O for betraying him. And so that's kind of how the season ends. and then the rest of the sons get carted off to jail and
for like 14 months or something.
14 months. But here's the kicker: is when they're being shipped off to jail, we still think Jax is a rat, and that the rest of the sons are probably going to kill him in prison or something. And they're being followed by two of their prospects. And as soon as they get the call that Stahl and Jimmy O are dead, the prospects ride up next to the car and honk their horns, and then everybody in the police van start laughing, and we know it was a setup, that Jax did it.
Yeah, he planned it.
It was all the pretending to be a rat to Stahl and all that. He did it just so he could get them that short time in jail, no major charges against the sons, and then they could still get their revenge on Stahl and Jimmy O. And that ends season 3, which is my favorite season.
So season 4, they get out of their penitentiary stay, and didn't Jax get stabbed or something?
He did. You see, it doesn't
go into it.
It doesn't go into it. It just shows his scars. He got shanked by the Russians in jail because of a little minor deal they made in season 3 that you don't. It's not really an important subplot or anything like that, but. Yeah, season 4 starts out. They're leaving. Jax has cut off all of his long, beautiful blonde hair, which everybody, all the women threw a fit about, from what I heard. And they're going back to Charmin to find out that there's a big developer coming in and developing a big housing project that's going to cost like millions and millions of dollars.
I'm gonna
up the zapping a little bit.
Just a tad. Okay. So.
And the police department has been completely dismantled.
Yeah,
in Charming, and the San Joaquin
and like living in a trailer or something.
And the San Joaquin Sheriff's Department has come in and basically taken over Charming, and they've hired a new sheriff named Eli Roosevelt.
Yes,
who's a gang task force officer from California.
And he starts giving them tons of problems.
Oh yeah, he's watching them like a hawk. They make it to where the sons aren't allowed to wear their colors in town now.
Yeah, they can't wear cuts.
And they're basically keeping, and a district attorney has come into town and is planning another RICO case against they just got out of a RICO case. Lincoln Potter. And they're planning another RICO case against the sons also.
Yeah, so that's those are really some main themes. Like what would you say some other things in season 4 that kind of add to the overall arc of the show?
Well, the feud between Jax and Clay picks up again.
Yeah,
because Clay has actually made a deal with some Mexican drug lords.
Yeah, that's where
to run
conflict of ethics right there.
They needed protection while they were inside. And so Clay made a deal with the Mexican cartel to keep them safe inside when they were in the prison, and then in return they're supposed to mule cocaine for the Mexican cartel. Yeah. And this causes the biggest rift in the club.
The whole club. Yeah.
Oh yeah, because they've never done anything like that ever.
And then Jax is really super conflicted on that because
he's against it.
Yeah,
completely.
Yeah, well, because exactly. It's a conflict of his ethics because he's bought into like more of his dad's narrative.
Exactly.
Because his vision for the club is that he gets them out of drugs and out of guns, both, and that's it becomes his goal, but also his downfall. Yeah. Because even when he takes over, he's not able to do that. It's like becomes this sort of weird. Struggle for him, like a major conflict internally.
Well, a little plot we missed in season 2 was he gets him in that porn business.
Yeah,
he gets him in and tries to and buys a share in that. He's trying to get him in legitimate businesses to where
they have other streams of income.
That and where the ATF and the DEA aren't looking at him all the time. So they're muling cocaine for the Mexican cartel, which brings a lot of trouble to the club. People start getting hurt. I'm trying to remember everything that
Inspired in season 4. So Hale is the mayor now. Is that correct?
Hale is the guy who was the former chief deputy. He's dead. He got killed in season 2 at the end of season 2. And his brother is now the mayor of Charming, and his brother's goal is to basically just run the Sun. It's been his main goal was to run the Suns out of town.
Isn't in this season where the Glendo cartel is the
they're actually undercover.
Yeah,
they're actually undercover CIA.
Isn't that what's his name?
Danny Trejo.
Yeah, he plays like the same character in Breaking Bad. Pretty much, but not an undercover. But it's like the drug cartel guy.
They're playing Galindo cartel, or they're pretending to be Galindo cartel leaders, but they're actually CIA operatives. Well, either CIA or FBI. I can't remember. And they're basically blackmailing the Suns to work for them, and do all their dirty work.
So also, doesn't Leroy come in season 4?
Leroy,
from the Niners.
Yeah, Leroy takes over as the Niners head guy, and he has a really good relationship with Jax. He trusts Jax, and so it kind of rebuilds that relationship with the Niners that had kind of fallen through in season 2.
So there's, I believe in season 4 too comes that part of the story where Juice does something, steals some of the cocaine, and then kills one of the Sons.
He does. Yeah.
That's the guy he kills. I was thinking that guy was happy when I mentioned it season 1.
No.
Who is it that he kills?
I can't remember his name. He was a prospect in at the end of season 2, beginning of season 3. And he actually got patched in while the group was in jail.
Okay.
Because they needed more hands since most of the Sons were in prison, so they went ahead and patched him in while they were in, and then they brought Kozik in. Also, Kozik was he was one of the Tacoma guys, and they patched him over to Redwood Original also, so they'd have some more manpower while they were down in numbers. But Miles was his name, the guy that Juice kills. And he makes it. And I want to say
Juice tries to kill himself.
Yeah.
And then they are and Chibs finds him, I think.
Yeah, he tries to hang himself and
follows him and
and Juice is just this is where Juice's downfall begins. He starts messing up, and he gets framed, and a lot of it has to do with because they're framing him. The Suns have a code that there's no black people in their club.
Yeah, well, and see, then that's why isn't there a conflict because the Niners are basically aren't they an all?
They're an all black club, but they work with them. They're not allowed. The Suns aren't allowed to have any black people in their club.
See, isn't it funny how they put all these groups because the Mayans are the Mexican gang, and there's the Mexican cartel, and then there's the black motorcycle, and then there's the white people that are racist,
the Nords and all that.
Yeah.
But Juice is afraid that they're gonna because Juice's dad is black.
Yeah.
And he's afraid that if the club finds out his dad was black, that they're gonna kick him out.
And the police chief threatens to reveal that, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Holds it over his head. Blackmails him to maybe steal cocaine.
He steals a kilo of coke so they can test it and see where it's coming from because they're trying to figure out where it's being brought in from.
Well, see, and then isn't it so? The Danny Trejo's character is Romeo, right?
Mm-hmm.
And doesn't Clay ask Romeo to help him kill Tara?
Yes,
why is that?
Because Tara has the letters now.
Oh yeah, from John Teller about how everything went down.
We're going to back up a little bit. In season 3, Trinity, or not Trinity, but John Teller's mistress from Ireland sends letters back in Jax's bag. Mm-hmm. All the letters that John wrote.
And he didn't see them.
He didn't see them. Tara found them in his bag. And so Tara has been reading the letters for 14 months while Jax has been in jail, and it tells everything that's happened. It talks about the whole narrative. It talks about how John believed that Clay and Gemma were going to kill him because he wasn't directing the club in the way that Clay wanted it. And so Tara is already to the point where she doesn't want to have anything to do with Clay and all that. And Clay knows that she knows also. And then she confides in Piney also. Piney knows about the letters.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, so Clay tries to have Tara killed because of the letters. And then Clay actually kills Piney up at the cabin.
Yeah.
Like in the third to last episode or fourth to last episode of season 4. So one of your first major character gets killed off in season 4 when that's Piney. And Clay kills him.
Yeah, and that's another first 9. So let's kind of delve into this direction for just a second. I'm fascinated, and while I was watching the final season of the show, and I've watched the whole series twice. Mm-hmm. How many times have you watched it? 3 times.
And I go back and watch
certain episodes. See, I watched the first season just kind of before we did this because it's been a couple years since I rewatched it the second time. But it was really good, man.
And we watched you and me watched the final episode.
We did, bro. I remember that. See, yeah, I was like, dude, because it was like we're always like in the gym being like, hey, Sunday Anarchy.
Yeah.
Were you watching?
But we watched the very last episode.
Because I couldn't stream the final episode. Exactly. I was like having to watch them online and stuff. So yeah, man, so people are dying left and right, and this thing with Juice is a lot of drama, honestly, I remember in the season. So any other comments that you can remember on season 4?
Well, basically at the end of season 4, Jax is to the point where he's thinking about leaving the club completely and just taking the Tara and the boys, and because they've had a kid since then. They've had Abel, and then she had a child while he was in prison in that 14-month period in between season 3 and season 4.
Yeah.
So he's thinking about taking the kids and just leaving and, letting the Suns crumble underneath the weight of all the things that's going on. But then that part of him says, I can't let the club die. I've got to take it over and get it away from Clay. And so Clay's been shot. He gets shot in the garage by Opie. Opie finds out Opie starts recollecting all the things that happened and realizing that Clay turned on him and all this junk from what happened with Donna and his wife. And so Opie finds out that Clay killed his dad too, because Unser tells him. And so he hunts Clay down and shoots Clay in the clubhouse, and they try to blame it on the Niners. They try to make him think that the Niners shot Clay. Well, Jax finds out about all this. Jax finds out that Clay killed Piney and was behind his dad's murder or his dad's death and everything, and so
it starts to play like a long game with it.
Yeah.
So this is like revealed early in what season? Earlier in season 4, and plays out into season 5.
Yeah.
And I think really it's like the end of season 5, the finale kind of, isn't that the airport hangar?
Airport hangar.
Well, I don't know.
Anyway, at the end of season 4, basically Jax tells Clay he's not going to be president anymore, and Jax takes over as president. So at the end of season 4.
Yes.
And Clay's going to be able to stay in the club, but he's not. He just gets a vote basically.
Yeah,
like you're basically going to take Piney's spot. You're going to be at the end of the table, the old man that nobody cares about anymore.
Yeah, and he gets on oxygen just like Piney.
Yeah, basically. Yeah. He basically
don't they black out his tattoo too, don't they?
No, they don't do that. They don't do that until they kick him out of the club.
Yeah,
so
that's right.
But yeah, I mean it's weird. Basically, like Piney gets killed, and Clay basically just takes over for Piney. He basically becomes Piney.
Interesting.
And
that is totally true, because he becomes the old man at the table with the oxygen tank.
And he's and none of the other members trust him anymore. I mean, some of them do, but the ones that know about what he did don't trust him anymore. So, beginning of season 5, Jax has been president. I want to say they said it's been like a couple months or so. And he's trying to get everybody out of the. This is where he starts his mission to get everything into legitimate business and all that. He starts trying to hand over the dealings to other to other groups, and that way they don't just completely fall out of everything that they're doing. Trying to think of what else kind of happens at the beginning of season 5.
So the club's running guns for the Niners, right? And then that's when the Damon Pope really starts to
the Damon Pope character comes in.
So, Damon Pope is the guy that what is the riff with him and not Chips, but him and Tig that eventually kind of.
Well, see, Clay had told everybody that the Niners had shot him in the garage there at the end of season 4. When really it was Opie, but they were trying to protect Opie because they felt like if the club found out that Opie tried to kill Clay, they would try to kill him. And so Clay said that it was the Niners that shot him, or that it was Black that shot him to keep Opie protected because he didn't want to see him get hurt. So, Tig, being the short-tempered
and the killer of Opie's wife,
he tries to take out Leroy, and ends up. Leroy was on a date with Damon Pope's daughter, and Tig accidentally kills Damon Pope's daughter. Yeah, and that's what starts. That's what starts
and
the
then
rift.
He burns Tig's daughter.
Yes, they capture Tig's daughter. Comes into town to visit him and ask him for money or whatever because she's kind of a bum and what do you call it?
Junkie.
No, she's not a junkie. She's a
hippie.
She's a hippie, but she's also like she's a gold digger, I guess is what you would call it. She just kind of comes in and uses people and then leaves. So, they end up capturing Tig's youngest daughter and they burn her alive in front of him. Yeah,
so raw, dude.
Yeah. And then this is where Jax comes in and says, "Listen, he goes, I'm gonna help you out here, but you're gonna back me on everything that I do. You're never gonna vote against me again." And so that's where Tig kind of pledges his loyalty to Jax.
Yeah. And so Chibs is Jax's sergeant at arms, right?
and between this, Tig gave up his sergeant of arms position after Clay was, taken out as president, and Chibs is now sergeant of arms, and Bobby Elvis is vice president now.
Yes, that is
He was the secretary, but now he's vice president. And there's also now some tension between.
So there's all these home invasions going on too, right?
Yeah. Yep.
And they don't really know who it is, and come to find out, who is it?
Well, they have they bring in some nomads that have been hanging out. One of them's like One Leg Mike or something like that, Peg Leg Mike or something. There's 3 of them, and then there's it's another guy. It's like Joey Bones or something like that. Anyway, we'll come to find out later on in the season, Clay brought them in to do all these home invasions to figure out.
Yeah, it was Clay that orchestrated.
It was Clay that was orchestrating.
He is such an asshole.
Man, you know what? Like, it's hard not to like Clay, though.
I know. Like, that's why I'm so glad they went with Ron Perlman, because he does kill it on that character in all aspects. Yeah, I think they couldn't have cast him any better.
That's my whole thing, is like, even all the way up to the point of where Clay is no longer like.
Well, but Clay's forming alliances in this season with Juice, right? Because Juice is like his little caretaker, and Juice is on the outside for trying to kill himself.
Yeah, he's Clay is protecting Juice, and Juice feels like he's kind of got to be loyal to Clay because Clay was his first president, you know. And so, but Clay is going behind the club's back, making these little side deals with people because he wants to be the president again. He wants that president's seat back. So, basically they figure out what Clay's doing, and they excommunicate Clay from the club, and they do a mayhem vote, see
if he gets to live.
Yeah.
He barely passes, right?
Well, no, they strip him of his patch first. And so, and then they do a mayhem vote, and everybody votes except for Bobby Elvis. Bobby Elvis and on a mayhem vote, it's got to be unanimous. So everybody has to vote,
right,
and everybody votes yes except for Bobby Elvis, because Bobby Elvis feels like if Jax kills Clay, he's going to turn into Clay. And Jax is going to basically pick up where Clay left off. That's what he feels. That's why he votes against it. So they end up stripping Clay of his patch, and then they do the scene where they tattoo over all of his, or they black out all of his ink and everything. And Clay's really distraught because he's that's been his whole life. The club's been his whole life, and that's all he ever wanted to do was be a biker. And now he doesn't have it anymore. So and in between all this, also there's Clay and Gemma have broken up,
and she hooks up with
Nero.
Nero, who's also in the show Dexter.
Yeah, really, man. They just took everybody from that show, and
okay, so
Nero's an interesting character.
He really
too.
is. Yeah, I like his little arc. So she's kind of left Clay, and that's why Juice like basically stays at the house with Clay.
Yep.
And so Juice starts doing these little errands for Clay, and like Jax picks up on that. Isn't that right?
Yep.
Let's see.
And then Nero, kind of give you a little backstory on Nero. Nero is a former gangster.
Yeah.
He was the leader of a group called the Bizlats.
And doesn't he kind of take over like the porn business, or starts running like a brothel? He's
a pimp basically. He's a brothel. He owns a brothel, but he doesn't really call himself a pimp. He runs a legit escort business. The beginning of season 5, he hooks up with Gemma, and they hit off their relationship, and they begin being together and stuff like that. And he falls in love with Gemma.
Okay, so
I don't know why she's crazy.
About midway through season 5 is when Opie in the prison.
Yeah,
that's such a sad scene, dude.
So Opie's
an intense scene.
Opie's like basically gone away from the club at the beginning of season 5 after he finds out that Clay killed his dad and that Jax tried to cover it up just to keep him safe. He just wants distance from the club, is not going to any meetings or anything like that. He's become real reclusive. And I think there's even one scene where Clay actually goes up to Opie and apologizes to him for everything that's happened. And
sorry for killing your wife and your dad.
Yeah. And but I think Clay tries to tell him, don't walk away from the club. The club needs you. And that's one of the. But Opie just doesn't really want to hear it. So.
So it's Damon Pope's people. So Opie and Chibs and Jax all end up going to jail for don't they just go to county? Like, aren't they?
Yeah, they get put in county for something. I can't remember what it was for. I want to say they had a warrant to search something or something like that, and then they end up take Jax, Chibs, Tig, and Opie to jail in the county. And then, anyway, Pope is basically running the jail. Like he's bought all the guards out and everything.
Yeah.
And he said because his daughter got killed, Jax has to give up a son.
Yeah, and it's is Tig in there with him too?
Tig's in there with him.
Tig, Chibs, Opie,
and he don't want to kill
Jax.
Tig. That's the thing. He wants Tig to suffer, and so it's got to either be Tig or it's got to either be Chibs, Jax, or Opie. And originally, Jax was going to sacrifice himself. Jax was like, "This is my call. I'm doing this." So they're going to basically throw him in a room with a bunch of guys and let him fight to the death.
And he makes all the sons watch.
Yeah. And so Jax is fixing to sacrifice himself, and Opie headbutts the sergeant guard or whatever, the head guard. And so they throw Opie in there, and they send these 3 humongous black dudes in there to fight him. And he actually does good for a little bit.
Yeah, they give Opie like a pipe or something, don't they?
Yeah. And he fends them off for a little bit, but then they just overpower him, and
sad.
And they end up smashing Opie's head in and killing Jax's best friend. And
exit Opie.
Yeah. Dude, I know people that quit watching the show because
I was kind of like that with Walking Dead. Like when Glenn died in Walking Dead, I was like, I'm done. I watched one more episode, and then I was like, I'm really done. And I haven't watched any since.
It got pretty good, man. This season 8.
Heard Carl's gonna die.
Well, we don't know that yet.
He's totally gonna die.
He's got a bite, but we don't know how long he's had that bite.
Well, what are they gonna do? Chop his chest off?
I don't know.
We're gonna cut your collarbone off.
It's so weird.
Carl.
It's so weird because in the comic books he's still alive.
I know, that's what they said. Yeah.
Yeah. There's like this big talk in the comic books that it's gonna be him at the very end. They're gonna have like this old man Carl, where Carl's like, you know, the same age as Rick, but he's like the survivor and like the leader of the people now. And they even did like this sketch of him of like old man Carl's got like this long beard and no eye and wearing this duster blazer and his dad's hat still, and he's carrying the shotgun and everything. It's just, but I think the reason they're doing that on the show is because the kid that plays him is getting, I mean, he's almost 18 years old.
Yeah. And
in the comic book he's only like 15. So he's outgrowing the role. Yeah. Basically on the show.
How long has Walking Dead been on there?
8 seasons.
Wow.
Yeah. And now that's another one that I've watched from the beginning.
I did too, and I just got out of it, man. I couldn't. You know, it's just like most shows really, I think, start to wane by about after the 4th season.
Yeah.
But I mean, Sons of Anarchy did to an extent, but I was still into it.
Oh, yeah.
I was looking forward to the last episode, but like
Sons always kept me going. Sons always kept me into it. You know, even though it did have some slow parts. Which every show does.
Well, and I think, you know, for me, there's House has like 23 episodes per season.
Yeah.
And then like Sons of Anarchy has 13 episodes. Like this Peaky Blinders has 6. But for me, and a lot of them have 13. For me, the sweet spot is 10 episodes.
Yeah.
I think you can do a lot with that. So that's a difference in like, I think 96 and 70 episodes.
Well, and it all depends on the length of the episode.
Yeah, exactly.
If you have
well, that's the limitations they struggle under on FX is they got to fill that 40, however many minute interval.
If you have a 30-minute show, you know, you can do more. You can do like a 15 or 20 episode season, like they do with like Hawaii 5-0, which is one of my favorite shows. They'll have like
Scott Kahn does Jiu-Jitsu, trains with Jack, bro. Jack is going to be on the podcast and be training with us in 2 weeks.
Well, the main character on that guy, Alex O'Loughlin, he trains Jiu-Jitsu also. He's either purple or brown belt, I can't remember. But yeah, they all train together in Hawaii. But anyway.
Okay,
so the end of season 5, basically.
They kill Pope.
They kill Pope. Yeah,
he acts like he's going to deliver Tig, and he pulls basically the same sort of maneuver, like, "Haha, I had this big plan." So Jax is a thinker. He's always planning ahead. He's kind of like the Peter Baelish of this show. Peter Baelish is the guy that like is always like planning stuff in the background.
Yeah.
In Game of Thrones. Littlefinger.
They kill Pope, and then Tara gets framed for something. I can't remember what it is. Jax's wife. They get married, and anyway, she gets framed for something. So she goes to, at the end of season 5, she's getting hauled off to jail. And then we move on into season 6.
Yeah, man. And only 2 seasons left to go, bro.
Yeah, and then honestly, season 6 wasn't one of my favorites.
Let's see.
I don't remember how it started out.
So at what point does Tara does she go to prison?
Yeah, she's getting arrested and going to jail at the end of season 5.
Yeah.
And then at season 6, she's been in jail for like a couple of months.
Yeah.
At that point. I think Wendy comes back into the scene in season 6. Jax's ex-wife from season 1.
Yeah.
She shows up and starts wanting to try to be in their son Abel's life. That causes some problems. But then her and Gemma kind of form a little. She kind of takes Tara's spot.
Too, I think that in season 6, like the reason Clay's been kept around is because he is the key. The Irish will only deal with
They'll
Clay.
only deal with him. Yeah, that's another reason why Jax didn't kill him at the end of season 4 was because he said the Irish won't talk to me. They won't deal with me. They'll deal with you. So I'm going to keep you around to work that side of it, and then I'm going to take care of all the other stuff you screwed up. So, but Clay's out of the picture now. He's been excommunicated. They've taken his patch and everything.
So why is it that the IRA doesn't like Jax? I can't remember that.
Well, there's the guy that's the head of it that's running their guns. Him and Clay just had a really good friendship, and he thinks the guy that's running thinks that Jax is hot headed and makes impulsive moves and stuff, and so he don't want to deal with him. He thinks that he's reckless and careless, and Jax is trying to pawn off the gun business to like the Niners and the Mayans because they've
trying to legitimize the club.
Yeah, well, he's made amends with the Mayans and he's made amends with the Niners. There's good relationships going on, but he doesn't want to see them not get what they need to run their businesses, and so he's trying to set it up to where they work the Irish still work with them, just not they don't use the Sons as a middle person or whatever, to get their guns out. And the guy that's the head of the Irish doesn't like that. He doesn't want to deal with these other gangs. He didn't want to deal with the Mayans. Didn't want to deal with the Niners. And so there's rift there for that. And then Clay's just being Clay again. Clay's actually in jail, I want to think, in season 6. They get him for something. I can't remember what it is. But he's in one of the prisons again, and he's trying to get out, make a deal or something to get out. And then
and they do kind of break him out.
They break him out, because they
transport.
They're trying to finish this deal and get everything settled to where the Sons aren't running guns anymore, and the head guy says the only way I'm going to do it is if Clay is here, and so they break Clay out of a transport. They're moving him from one place to another, and so the Sons break him out, and he's kind of surprised by it when they break him out because he didn't think that they would do anything like that. Well, that's where they go to the airport hangar, and
that was a crazy episode.
Yeah.
This is also the season where Cora exits the interest level because Jax cheats on Tara.
Yeah, he's with that what's her name that takes over for Nero or whatever.
Yeah. Okay, so.
And Tara's out of jail at this point. They get her out,
and she kind of like is she's anti-Gemma.
And she's starting to become anti-Jax now.
Yeah,
she's been talking with a lawyer about divorce.
Yeah, and then, because she doesn't know that Jax does have a bigger plan allegedly, but she doesn't know it, and we don't really find it out until the end, and then it's like a tragic thing because, everything really goes bad because. I guess is season 6 could be at the beginning of season 7. I can't remember, but it comes to light. Gemma thinks because the people have been feeding false information, so Gemma thinks that Tara has ratted and made a deal
with the ATF.
Yeah.
When come to find out, it wasn't her. It was who was it? It was Juice.
What? Yeah, was it?
Yeah.
See, and Chibs almost made a deal at one point,
or
way earlier.
Yeah, way earlier, but
that was like season 3 or 2 or something. I was really conflicted about it.
So not Gemma, but Tara's trying to leave town with the boys and get out of there, and Jax finally finds her and tells her what his plan is. That
it's the DA, I think, that's leaking the false information somehow.
Yeah. And so anyway, they end up putting Tara in safe hiding or whatever, or supposed to have her in safe hiding. And Gemma. It's like you said. Gemma thinks that she's a rat, and so she shows up to the house, and they get into a little scuffle, and Gemma kills Tara.
Oh man, dude, I was so mind blown when that happened, bro.
In their own house, in Jax and Tara's own house.
And then Jax finds her.
Well, here's another little twist point: is Eli Roosevelt, the sheriff of the new sheriff or whatever, him and Juice are outside talking when all this happens.
And Juice walks in and then kills, and so is a witness. So then becomes connected to Gemma.
Yeah, and they that's where they cover it up to where they try to make it. They try to make them think that the Chinese did it because the sons are in a bed with the Lin Triad. They're trying to sell guns to the Lin Triad and have
more racial divisions. Man,
yeah.
Jeez, the Chinese.
So season 6 ends with Jax finding Tara. Jax is actually fixing to go to jail too. He's turned himself in on gun charges and some other stuff. And so and it was to keep Tara out of jail.
Yeah.
Basically he made a deal to keep Tara out of jail and so she could raise the boys and then when he got out he was going to be done with the club. And so he comes home and finds Tara has been murdered along with Roosevelt, and then that's how season 6 ends. And then on to season 7.
The final season. Also 13 episodes. What do you got on season 7?
From what I remember, Jax is in jail, and they end up finding out that because he's in jail because, for one, the gun charges, and then second, they think that he is the one that killed Tara and Roosevelt because they find him there at the end of season 6. The new, I can't remember her name, but she was like one of the new head up law enforcement agents there or whatever. So they end up finding out that he had nothing to do with the murder, and they let Jax go on a technicality or whatever. So Jax comes back, and he's real.
And so in 2, we didn't say this, but in like season 4 or 5, I believe it, or I can't remember, but Jax and Tara have a second child.
Yeah.
Yeah, we didn't get into that.
Yeah, but
so she leaves 2 boys behind with Jax to take care of. So he's kind of in the same position Opie was after Donna died. Man.
Well, and now, he doesn't know that Gemma killed Tara. He thinks that it was the Chinese because Gemma tells him that the Chinese killed her, and so now Gemma is like basically raising the boys while Jax is running the club.
And then Jax finds out about Gemma because Unser starts investigating, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So,
and then of course Juice starts. Juice loses it, starts leaking stuff, and they end up.
Well, even in the first episode, Juice is like ODing on pills or something.
Oh yeah. But anyway, Juice. They find out Juice was the rat from like back in season 4 or 5 or whatever.
Yeah,
and did all that.
Doesn't Juice come clean on everything, and then he goes to jail.
Yeah,
and that's when he becomes Marilyn Manson's boyfriend.
Yeah,
that is crazy. So Marilyn Manson's like getting him hooked up with the white racist.
Yeah, and that's fun. And what's funny is that he's one of the leaders of the Nords.
That was a disturbing prison scene that comes to mind.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. And there's just that whole season. There's just so much going on. The new guy's taking over for Damon Pope or whatever.
Yeah.
Becomes the new.
And Jack's offset dude.
Yeah.
So Jack's basically, just to kind of not distill the season down too terribly much, but Jack's basically plans hits on everybody that's any loose end, allegedly.
He realizes that the only way to get out of all this stuff is to off all their enemies.
Yes, but what I'll say this is like kind of history repeats itself on all these themes. Is like, yeah, he does that, and then it ends how we'll talk about in a second, but. Going beyond if there's any spin-offs or any prequels or any follow-ups, it's like what happens next. It's like I guarantee you that the Sons keep going because they're a national, international thing, But
but Jax gets to the point. He realizes he's not a good father figure to his boys. His love of his life is dead. He realizes that the club is going to be better off without him, and that his boys are going to be better off without him.
Well, and doesn't like Abel like stab a kid in this season?
Yeah,
or something? There's like all this behavioral stuff going on because Tara's gone.
Well, Abel overhears Gemma telling the young baby that she's sorry for killing his mom.
Yeah.
And so Abel, who's like 5 years old,
and
6 years old,
it comes to light.
Yeah. And so he starts cutting himself and, doing things as which, there's a lot of stuff in the in psychology and stuff like that where kids do that to themselves as reactions to, traumatic events in their life.
Yeah.
So, and then
let's see, Jax, let's see, what kicks off the domino at the, yeah. So Jax puts all this together, and then, it comes to light that Gemma knows that he knows, and Jax ends up offing his own mother.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Well, backtrack a little bit.
Because Gemma's still alive in episode 10.
Yeah.
Maybe that's the one. Let's see. I think it's next to the last episode where he kills Gemma.
Well, when they were something happens with Jury, the sons from Nevada, the club that they patched over.
Yeah.
Somebody tells Jax that Jury was a rat for something, and that Jury was the one that ratted him out on something they were doing. So Jax has a meeting with Jury out in the middle of nowhere or whatever, and they get into an argument. Well, Jax and he kills Jury. And so one of the rules for the sons is that if because
he killed Jury, that's one of the reasons he has to sacrifice himself.
Yeah, and the sons, they bring in all the presidents and they do a mayhem vote on Jax, and they vote him out as president, and then they vote that his club has to kill him, basically.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, which they're not going to do.
They're not going to do.
Well, give me this. So, kind of backing up and just like let's get in this one little story arc. So Kurt Sutter's character Otto, like. Roosevelt and everybody that's been trying to get to the Sons is basically by this point, Otto ends up dying in prison, but he's like he's having the most horrendous and horrible things happen to him in prison. It makes like Juice's time in prison look like nothing.
Well, they keep using him for things. They keep
and then
they use his wife against him.
Yeah, and then they get him stabbed. They get his other eye poked out because he's already blind in one eye. Then they like he gets raped and all of this horrible stuff.
Anytime he does something for the club, there's always like retaliation for it. And that's why I said he's like the sacrificial lamb, because he's being loyal to the club, but at the same time the club's not doing anything to protect him.
Remember when I think it's in like season 6 or 7. I can't remember at what point he dies, but he like bites his own tongue out.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, dude! I was losing it. That's such a tragic character.
Yeah, they're trying to get him to rat on something. I can't remember what it was, and he just he slams his tongue down on the ground and bites his own tongue off, right? and then throws it up on the window, and it's like sliding down the glass.
Oh my gosh, man, I am freaking out right now. That is just such a horrible. I remember seeing that twice.
And that's the guy that wrote the show.
It was, and he's done. What was that other medieval show that he did?
The Bastard Executioner.
Yeah, and it didn't really hit. Right?
He was also he also wrote for The Shield.
Yes,
back in the day, the cop show with Michael Chiklis.
Yeah,
The Shield. He did writing on that. I think that was his first like real big show that he ever worked on.
Yeah, I'm hoping that they do some sort of a spin-off. Same thing with Game of Thrones. It's like they really could. Like what they're doing with Better Call Saul. I really enjoyed that.
Yeah.
Okay, so what as we progress through the season, so Jax kills Gemma, and then final episode to avoid putting the club, like, because it's basically like everybody will turn on the club if they don't kill Jax.
Yeah, well, they're like it's like they did a mayhem vote on Jax, but his club is responsible for killing him. That's how it goes, because that's just, I guess that's their club rules. It's implied in that, they say that it has to go down, but it's got to be by his club. And so Jax meets up with him in like this warehouse or whatever, and they act like they're going to kill him, and they end up shooting like happy in the arm or something, and they make it look like Jack's escaped from him. Yeah, because they go, "We're not going to kill you, man. Like we can't do that. You know, you've done nothing but try to make our
line
club
things out."
Yeah, and so he gives his president's patch to Chibbs. Chibbs is the new president of the Sons of Anarchy, and then Chibbs makes Tig vice president at the end of season 7.
And then Jax gets his dad's Indian, is it?
That's a pinhead or panhead. It's a Harley panhead.
Okay, yeah. So, and he basically, at the spot where his dad committed suicide or wrecked his bike, he starts off there, and the cops find him. They're like looking for him, right?
Yeah. Well, he's killed like
everybody. He's killed somebody on the courthouse steps or something.
Yeah,
right?
he killed
not
the
David
main
Pope, but the
guy his successor, and then he killed the undercover cop that was working against them too, Borowski, that owned the little deli or whatever.
Mm-hmm, yeah,
they killed him, and then I want to say he got somebody else, but I can't remember who.
He did. He righted all the wrongs. I remember him taken out.
Yeah.
So Juice got taken out in prison.
Juice got taken out in prison.
Or given opportunity. Him. Oh, did they shank him or did he kill himself?
Yeah, Marilyn Manson shanks him in the neck because he and that was the whole thing. Jax gave Juice a chance to right all his wrongs, but at the end he was going to die.
You know, Marilyn Manson's going to be on JRE. I think he was yesterday. I'm gonna look because John Danaher and Marilyn Manson are both supposed to be on there this weekend or this week. And
I'll have to listen to that Danaher.
Yeah, I know, right? I cannot wait.
Death Squad.
Yeah,
the Danaher Death Squad.
But I haven't. I heard that they're both supposed to be on there yesterday, and I'm like, what an incredible day! But I haven't. Let's see if it's on there yet.
It may take him a day or so to get that stuff up.
Well, usually I guess he didn't do one yesterday. I don't know. It does. It takes me a minute. I'm always refining my process, but like I'm going to refine my upload process more and more. Yeah. Like I got my upload process down with like what I'm doing on the member site and just like shorter YouTube stuff. It's not a big deal. It takes like I can really do short videos fast.
Yeah.
Because I do them right from the device. I usually record those on the iPad, but it's just a little bit of a process on the podcast. But I think I think I'm going to get it down into it. Once I start bringing in the video feed, I think it's going to be a little easier with how I'm going to do it. So, so Jax basically
offs all their enemies,
and then gets his dad's motorcycle. Cops are chasing him. He's running out of gas, and
he basically is driving down this highway and contemplating his life and everything, and he kind of says a little earlier in the episode. He kind of says a little farewell to his boys, and he basically hands his boys over to Nero and Wendy, his first wife, because she's cleaned up and they've kind of got back together or whatever. I guess you want to say
they did get back together, yeah.
And he says that he doesn't want them living this life of chaos, which is where his dad's words also, which his dad's words to him. Was that he didn't ever want him to be a part of the club and didn't want him to know anything about the club. So he feels like he's got to do that for his sons. And so he rides off into the sunset, and then cops are chasing him. And all of a sudden this big 18-wheeler comes around the corner, and he sees this perfect opportunity to end it, and he just drives that motorcycle right into
face first, wrecks his bike.
And what's even funnier is Michael Chiklis is the truck driver in that. From the guy from The Shield.
Really?
Yeah.
Man.
Yeah.
I never made that connection.
Well, they did a thing where Gemma actually meets him at a truck stop when Gemma's still alive, like 3 episodes before that. And they sit down and have like a little conversation, and Gemma kind of confides in him a little bit about things that's been going on in her life, and and it kind of sets him up. It's like, okay, yeah, I'm talking to his mother, and then I'm going to be the guy that accidentally kills him,
Yeah.
So, and then the show ends with I want to say it was like some bread laying in the road or something, and then like you see like blood stream down to the bread.
Yeah.
And that was it. And we watched that. You and me watched that final episode together.
We did, man. Now it's come full circle because you are, I think, the 7th or 8th guest on the podcast. And that kind of wraps it up, man. We logged a nice little 2-hour review here. So I'm gonna upload this today. That way I'm kind of ahead on, I got everything on YouTube, but like I said, I'm going to get it audio hosted sometime this week somewhere. I just haven't really, and it may just be my website. But so just a real quick preview. So later on this week, Thursday, we're going to do, Thursday or Friday, I'll be doing video episodes. I'm going to have Michael Sandow on Thursday. I got to confirm with these guests, but Friday it's looking like I'm going to have Robert Regner and Josh Wilson. Next Tuesday, I'm going to have Flavio and Caleb on. Then I'm doing a private lesson with Flavio's third-degree BJJ black belt and Guinness Book of Record holder for longest scooter ride.
That's so funny,
I
man.
know, dude.
That's hilarious. I told somebody that the other day about his little riding up and down the coast or whatever, and they're like, that's insane.
Dude, I'm so excited to have Jack on. He's coming in February 3rd, so going to get to have him on.
I'm gonna try to make it to his. I haven't.
If you can't make it, if you got schedule issues or anything, maybe I know he always does some private lessons while he's in.
Yeah.
But he'll be flying in Friday night, and we'll be hanging out Friday evening, and then.
Isn't that crazy? Like the relationship y'all built up over like.
I know, man. He's a total.
It's like just a dude you met. That you saw.
He's such a good friend too. I love talking to him, and I'm so grateful to know him. Like I can't, like, not a day goes by where I don't think about. And it's not to take anything away from anyone else, because like our coaches taught me all the techniques that, like, not all, but so many techniques, like you could never replace it. But it's like he like assimilated things for me through these concepts and ways of explaining things. It's just straight Hickson stuff that, you know, like connection, the middle, distribution of weight, and that's I'm excited to get him on the podcast to talk about some of those topics. And I'm really excited to have him in to train with him, just to get to see him, because he's a great friend and has been a huge influence on my jiu-jitsu. And it is awesome that we've been able to connect, because he was just in Northwest Arkansas, trained at Caleb's. I looked him up, his BJJ versus Cancer series and Budo videos. So it's I'm really This Week in BJJ, he's been on that too, and he's got a video with 1 million views called "Racist Uber Driver."
Racist Uber driver.
Yeah. But, it's I'm really looking forward to having him on. And then I'll be having, sometime soon, Jesse Weiss back on the podcast to talk about national parks. And
that'd be neat.
He may talk about, probably going to have him on a separate episode for the Buffalo River. And then we'll be doing our first couple episodes of Music Unraveled, like I mentioned at the beginning. And I'll be launching the History Unraveled very soon. I have my first lecture and first history class next Tuesday.
That'll be good, man.
Civ 2.
I think you're going to be good at that, man. I think that's.
Man, I'm excited about it. I've always wanted to do it. I just kind of got out of wanting to teach high school. I went all the way through phase 1 of the Praxis and the Praxis 2, and did all but just a couple of classes. And I decided, I was like, man, after doing observations, that I wanted to get my master's and would much rather do something like that and what I'm doing. And it's much more flexibility to be able to do it on the side with the gym.
Oh, yeah.
Fortunately, one of the professors was gracious enough to trade me. They were only going to offer me a night class, which would have interfered with my Monday evenings. And fortunately, they are going to allow me to teach an 8 a.m. spot, which works perfectly. So I get out of morning BJJ at 6:45. It's stop and get coffee, and then we're in Morrilton.
Yeah.
25 minutes or so to get to Morrilton. It's not bad at all.
It's not even that. It's not even that.
Yeah, from my house, it's 25 minutes. From the gym, it's going to be even faster.
Yeah, you'll get there quick. I did some classes at Morrilton back in the day.
Motown.
When I was still a young and dumb college kid.
Yeah, now we're in our 30s, bro.
Dude, is it weird to think about how far we've come, like from the first time we started training together?
And that's why, why I want to do this is because it's still fresh enough to get the word out. Like when I go give talks at high schools and stuff, I've got like a little narrative that I put out there, but I want to record that perspective on like just the whole entrepreneurial journey. Yeah. Like I had Bear, who's doing stand-up comedy on now, and he was my third guest on Life Unraveled, and like we had a spot where we just talked about kind of like getting to do that which you love, which like, dude, I guarantee you, like I've always been like, yeah, he's an outdoorsman, you know. He likes hunting, he likes being outside. Dude, you're gonna love that game warden job.
Oh yeah,
because I mean, if you know, it's probably gonna be like all the things you like about law enforcement and hunting.
Yeah,
you know, and I mean, I like any job, and I tell people this. It's like I love the gym. I love everything that I do. I've proportionated my life in such a way that I feel like I only get to do the things that I enjoy and love to do, but they still cause stress too.
Oh yeah.
You know, and that's it. It's like, you're not going to reduce the stress. Like, and two, it's just more like I'm always thinking, like, today I responded kind of poorly to some stress, and we all do. But it's like I'd set the computer at the gym, went and got a coffee, and I was uploading an episode. And it was like the final one, and Cora's just like, ka-dink, shut it. And I was like, because it takes like a couple of hours for me to raw upload. So I'll do it. And I was like, but I was able to get it uploaded before you got here, because I was like, I took the Mac with me. I was like, while I'm teaching BJJ, you know, it's going to take a couple of hours. And I have a little faster internet at the gym too. So, but, you know, it's just like, it definitely was not that big of a deal.
Yeah.
So,
well, you know how you deal with stress, you just relieve it, you know, and going to the gym is like, it's always been kind of my stress reliever, you know, like whenever I had bad days at work and stuff like that. I mean, those were the nights that I was in the gym the most.
Dude, we did wall work last night, and I was super sore this morning too. But I got this Velcro burn on like my hamstring and back of my leg, and it's like the worst freaking Velcro burn I've ever had, bro. Like, it is like wraps around my, like, all the way around my leg, and it's like, I'm like, what, did you have Wolverine claws? Like, I was like, as soon as practice was over, I'm like in the shower in my office, just grubbing my legs down. I was like, please don't get stabbed, please don't get stabbed. Man, because like, man, how many people, you know, leave their glove in their bag?
Oh yeah.
Like, and it never comes out, and they never clean it. It's so disgusting. I talk about it all the time. But we've been doing, we're starting a Saturday MMA class, and we've been doing extra. Kickboxing's last class of the night now, so we've been doing extra sparring MMA. Like, we did all wall work last night.
I may be able to start making it.
Yeah, dude, I totally forgot to tag you in that yesterday, because I know your schedule's been weird. But I talked to you about it anyway previously.
I'm the old MMA guy in the gym now.
Yeah, well, you know, like Josh Wendell, he trained at ATT Top Team, American Top Team Atlanta, and he was my first guest on SportsCenter. He's a nuclear engineer at the plant, like a reactor engineer, and
you were telling me about
really
him
good dude. He's a bro already. I really like him, and so he's going to be helping out a little bit. That he's like, man, like, we got Brent right now. He's like teaching the rubber guard one night a week, and we're going to have him on the podcast eventually. He's super cool, veteran, 20 years military. Now he's like going back and forth to Germany as a consultant all the time, but I'm looking forward to you know, like, getting him involved, because he's an MMA enthusiast. Brent and Seth are no-gi enthusiasts. Several people like gi and no-gi. Several people like judo and BJJ. A lot of people like grappling, but just like having those enthusiast niches is nice, because like, he's not, I mean, he has a gi, he's done some judo, but he's not really, you know, MMA is his thing. And I'm like, well, we need people like that too. We need people like Surratt's been coming back in, helping with the boxing club.
That's good too.
Albert's been helping. Danny's been working a lot of crazy. He said he worked more overtime in 2017 than he's ever worked in his life. But they bought a new house and moved and things like that. But, you know, having people like those guys are boxing specialists. I'm not, you know, they're not running 5 things a week that's like they're only thinking about punching. Yeah. And it's nice to have that perspective and to learn from those people and see how they interpret and do things and run a class and coach. It's
that's the things we didn't have when we were coming up.
It's not, and like now I've been doing everything that we've been doing long enough. So I got my judo black belt last year. I'd done judo for over 7 years. 4 tips on my BJJ brown belt. All the time through because we started off doing MMA. It was no-gi, kickboxing, MMA, and then in 2013 really started getting into boxing. It expanded. Like, I mean, Tim and I just sat in here the other day and broke down boxing. I've cornered over half a dozen boxing fights of this season. So with USA Boxing here in the state, but anyway, good times. We looking forward to that, but definitely on time because like the very first day that he's going to have run the class, I'm going to be out of town cornering a boxing fight.
Hey,
so, but there'll be times where like I know mid-March he goes into outage, and I can obviously be there to run some classes, but we'll definitely because that'll be nice if you get that game warden spot. Because I'm sure it's going to be at noon on Saturdays.
Yeah,
so I'm sure you'll have some availability. Likely, right?
Well, I'll be gone from March until July. I've got to go through their academy again, or their training academy. It's different than the police academy that I went through a few years back. So I got to go through all that again. Not really looking forward to that, but
how many weeks is that? You said
it's 18.
Okay, yeah.
I'll be home on the weekends though, so I'll be able to. That's my thing. I'm going to try to come down there to the gym and train for a few hours at least while I'm home, and because you got to keep your training up while you're gone. And,
yeah, man.
But my schedule.
You've been getting it in lately, man. It's been nice seeing you on the mat so much.
Yeah, man. I just felt like, after I quit fighting, I wasn't. Well, and when I was fighting, I felt like my BJJ. I didn't give my BJJ the attention it deserved, or that it needed. I was progressing, but I just felt like I never really.
Yeah, so you won your first 4 fights by submission, is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I thought. And how many?
Well, I've won all my fights by submission.
Okay.
All my wins were finishes.
Man, that one fight in Hot Springs, that decision loss, I just still think about that a lot.
Yeah.
Because it was not like I rewatched that fight a bunch of times, and I'm just like.
But you know what?
That's how it goes, man.
That's things you learn from, man. And I have no regrets about my fighting career. I look back on it and.
They should be fond memories. I tell Cora all the time because she's 25, and I'm like, this is a grind, this is a stress, but like, you can't do this forever. Like you're seeing Holly Holm come on the end of her career right now, and she is awesome. She's great. She's winded down. She's 36 years old.
Yeah. Well, she boxed for
33 pro boxing fights.
I mean, that's a lot of mileage, man.
It really
is.
That's
a lot of mileage. People don't realize. I mean,
yeah, when I started, like, that's when even Johanna is in her early 30s.
Yeah.
But the careers they've had prior, like Johanna's had all this kickboxing, Muay Thai, and it's
that takes a toll on you, man. I mean,
as you and I both know.
Look at freaking Jeremy Horn. Jeremy Horn had like 112 professional. That's MMA, not no kickboxing, no boxing, all MMA. 100 and something MMA fights. I mean, can you imagine?
Yeah.
I had...
What, a dozen?
No, I had like 16 altogether,
okay.
I think.
Yeah.
Amateur and pro. And I fought 4 times in 1 year as an amateur.
Yeah.
And I thought that was a lot.
Is that like your first year?
It was like second or third year. Kind of in between like the middle of my record, of my amateur record. I remember fighting 4 times in 1 year, and I was tired, man. Just from the weight cutting and the training.
You remember how shitty that first cage you fought in was?
Oh my gosh, dude! I thought I was gonna fall through the floor.
I know, man. That you and Levi both fought on that, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah.
Yeah.
Max Tap
MMA.
Oh man.
And that's not even. I mean,
I'd like to say that we've come a much. I mean, I would say right now MMA in the States better than it's ever been, especially since they're going to start doing blood testing.
Oh yeah,
but
they're like, what was?
But still, man, I feel like we really, because I remember my first fight was unsanctioned, and that was in 2008, I believe, and then 2009 I fought, and it was sanctioned, and that's when like you would think it being sanctioned, the Wild West days would end, but. They still proceeded all the way, all that KP and AXC, that was all just Wild West.
Oh yeah, dude,
man, it's like just like Bellator right now.
But it was fun though.
Yeah,
well, I had a blast, man.
Dude, we'll be talking about it forever, and that's
Yeah, I tell people all the time. It's like, even though I don't fight anymore, I still think about it all the time.
Yeah,
it's such a big part of my life, because I did it for.
Dude,
I did it for like 7 or 8 years straight.
And you're never gonna stop. I bet watching MMA or cornering a fight or coaching at a tournament. It's always gonna be there, man, in the background. And just like for me, aging from 19 years old to about to be 31, doing martial arts super seriously pretty much damn near every day. It's interesting to be where I'm at because since I started noticing my recovery going down when I got to be about 28.
Mm-hmm. That's where it hit. That's where it hit.
And that's really the only thing that I've noticed a downfall in is recovery. I mean, like the injuries, I guess, are probably more frequent, but I blame that on not allowing the recovery to take its natural process. Now I'm a lot better at that. I roll every day. But, like, I mean, and too, like, some people, like, I typically don't roll a lot in the evenings. I roll in the mornings, I roll in the afternoons, or I do a lot of private lessons through the week. I'll roll with those guys. And it's like I'm getting my rolling in, and I'm getting, like, I'm getting it, like, I look at what I'm doing with everybody, and I get mine in for me, too, through that process. But it's unconventional in comparison to that, even the above average student that's in there every day because it's like, you're here every day. I'm here every day, three times a day. 8 hours a day minimum. I'm engaged in martial arts. And then outside of that, another probably 3 or 4 doing stuff like this conversation we're tacking on the end of our Sons of Anarchy review. So, which is so funny. It doesn't matter what the podcast is about. It's like, we're going to talk about Sons of Anarchy for an hour and a half, but we're going to talk about MMA for 20 minutes, and then we're also going to talk about other unrelated TV shows for another 15 minutes. It is so cool how the conversation carries itself all these different places and how you lose thoughts and come back to him because, like the audience, like already somebody, because we've got over 50 views, 60 views in less than 24 hours. Yeah. So, but one of them was like, I just wanted to comment, like, that's the answer, because I was like, what's that guy's name, Yeah. And
I'm sure somebody will get on there and be like, oh, y'all missed this or whatever.
Yeah. But
it's just cool to think about, like, where we started at, back in the day. I remember walking into the Inferno and nobody talking to me. You were like literally the first guy that ever talked to me.
Yeah, well, see, too, it's like I was like at that time, like I was just coming off of working a whole lot, and I was just like,
you were a car salesman, weren't you?
Yeah, I was like, oh, here's this new guy. I don't know who he is. I'm gonna work with him or roll with him or whatever. Yeah. And now here we are. Let's see how many. What year did you start?
I started at the end of 2008.
End of 2008.
Yeah, so you'd already been there for.
I started at the end of 2006. I started January 2006. There's a old photo that floats around every year in like February of 2007, and it was like
Is that dream seminar?
Yeah, with Paulo the Brazilian.
Yeah, and then like there's a bunch of guys.
Mike Page got his Inferno black belt at that seminar.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Yeah. Good times, fond memories. First seminar I ever did, Maverick Dunn, who I trained with.
I remember Maverick. Yeah,
Dunn Collin. First, we fought on my first fight, kickboxing. We fought on the same card together. Yeah. So, and that was 2008.
And I've almost accomplished all 3 of my goals that I set when I first started.
Which were?
First one was get Inferno black belt,
okay,
which I've already done that. Second one was become a pro fighter. Done that, and now it's just getting my BJJ black belt.
You're on it, man.
Dude,
like that's what.
And those were the only 3 goals that I ever set for myself.
When I got my purple belt, like Caleb, like talked to me a couple of times and kind of wrote me a little note with it and was like, people that get their purple belt pretty much don't not get their black belt. Like you're pretty much on the inside now. Like this is a higher level of
lifers.
Yeah, exactly. And it's not that I wasn't before, but it's like it's a pretty serious milestone, and the brown belt even more so. Yeah. But it's an incredible journey, man. I'm gonna end up being if the promotions happen at next year's team camp, it's gonna be like a 12-year black belt. Yeah. Which, and I will probably
it'll be the same for me. I'll be about 10, 11 years, something like close to 12 anyway.
Most of the people I'll end up producing though will probably be 8 to 10 year black belts. Yeah. Just as how it's looking for people that are purple and browns, because John being a brown, but I mean he put his time in. He's competing a ton. Yeah. Ran his own school for a year and a half. and has been real consistent over the years.
Yeah.
So and put pretty much all his eggs in the grappling basket.
Yeah.
With his judo to complement as a cherry on top. But
well, that just goes to show you like how much it's changed from when we started.
And how much different it can be too if you don't subdivide it. Even though I do more jiu-jitsu than anything, and I wouldn't say that it's like I do it more, so it's more of a passion because I do it more. But like I personally enjoy and love striking just as much as for many of the same reasons. So. Well, anyway, dude, let's go ahead and wrap this up. I'm going to go do some yoga here in a few minutes, I believe. I don't know if I have time to get over to the gym. But
you might have time.
Yeah. I'm going to need to eat a little something, too, as we've been casting it up for 2 hours and 20 minutes, man. Well, all right, guys. We'll see everybody next time, and we'll start getting this uploaded.